This conference will now be recorded.
This over
conference
again.
will now be recorded.
Excellent.
Sorry.
There we go. Welcome everybody, like Randy had said, to the December 16th meeting of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners. Before we get things started tonight, could I first do a roll call of the commissioners present? Renee.
Commissioner Walk.
Here.
Commissioner Mobilio.
Here.
Commissioner Kelly.
Here.
Commissioner Seton.
Here.
And Commissioner Morgan.
Here. All right, the gang's all here. Excellent. And if everybody could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance before we get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to note that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted on board docs for the public's access. With that being said, we're going to move right into our agenda for this evening. But before we get things started in the agenda, I just want to do a really a little shout out to our Public Works Department and Emergency Services, everyone out there tonight in this terrible snow, or it's a wonderful snow, depending on how you look at it, and keeping us safe and keeping our roads clear. So our thoughts are with all of them, and thank you for the hard work you do. Much, much appreciated. So we'll move right into our agenda items. And first on our agenda for consideration and possible action is the carryover of our November 18th, 2020 Board of Commissioner meeting minutes. There was a request to go back and check the recording on that. There was no changes found to be made. So we do have the opportunity to make a motion to approve the November 18th minutes as provided in our packet.
I make a motion.
I heard a motion on the floor from Commissioner Walk. Was that yes? Okay.
Commissioner Morgan, I just want to add a comment. I did go back and listen to the meeting audio regarding the topic that was discussed, and at the minute points that Tracy had pointed out in our email, there was discussion by the board that the potential grant proposal for businesses initially was a motion to use those funds from the Wares Dam money, and I can give you the timestamps if you'd like, but in that meeting, I made a comment about not using those funds as well as Commissioner Seton did, and I would like that added for consideration because the motion was made to use those funds, and there was obviously discussion to the contrary to that. So it would be important to have both sides of that issue represented in our minutes.
Well, we do have a motion on the floor to pass the minutes as they stand. I'll give the rest of the board an opportunity for comment on Commissioner Kelly's comment before we go for a second. Any other comments? All right. Well, we do have a motion, Commissioner Kelly, on the table. If there is a second, we will have to go for a vote. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Oh. Was that Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Didn't you make the motion?
I made the motion to accept the meeting minutes. I thought you were talking about Commissioner Kelly's request. I'm sorry if I misunderstood.
You just made a motion to accept the minutes as they stand, not with the additional comments.
I'm sorry, I've lost the thread of the motion.
I'm curious, the comments that Commissioner Kelly was mentioning, were they not on the minutes? Is that?
No, they were not included.
No, because they weren't an action taken by the board, Commissioner Seton. So that was the reason they're not included in the minutes. They are included in the recording for everyone to hear. Certainly they're there, but they weren't part of an action taken by the board. So that's why they weren't included.
Okay, so that action is pending if the board wants to do that.
If they want to add that information into the minutes, yes. But Tracy went back and checked, and there was no specific action taken by the board in regards to Commissioner Kelly's comments. That was in an email sent to us earlier in this week.
I will second Commissioner Walk's initial motion to approve the meetings approve the meeting minutes as they are written currently.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor, so we would need a roll call vote, please, Renee.
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
No.
Commissioner Seton,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye, motion carries. All right, moving on to our December 2nd meeting minutes. I will open it up for any questions or comments on those December 2nd meeting minutes from the board.
Commissioner Kelly, I'm sorry, Commissioner Moore, this is Commissioner Kelly. I do have a question on that. During that meeting, it was not reflected in the minutes, but a commissioner made a comment that I was lying about some statements that I had made regarding volunteer positions, and I just want to report to the board. I did go back and listen to the meetings that were pointed out at that time when these vacancies were broadcast to the board, and I did not find those. What I found was general conversation. The first time the actual opening on the Planning Commission was mentioned was at the November 18th board meeting and the November 19th Planning Commission meeting. I wanted to make sure that that correction is noted in the records.
Well, I'm not sure if there's a correction to be made. It's a comment which will be included in the record with the recording, but you know, it was a comment made by a commissioner. Lots of comments are made. I don't know what correction you want made. Your comment will be included. But...
I would like it to be corrected that I was not telling a lie.
All right. Well, I guess I can't deny or I can't say one way or another, Commissioner Kelly. So your comment will be included in the meeting recording. I don't know what else to say.
Thank you.
Got it. All right. Is there any other questions or comments on the December 2nd meeting minutes from the board? With none, can I hear a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
I believe that was Commissioner Mobilio. Motion by Commissioner Mobilio. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Seton. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
No.
Commissioner Seton,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. Thank you, everybody. We have no presentations this evening. However, we do have an ordinance for review and approval as advertised, an ordinance of the Township of South Whitehall, County of Lehigh, and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, setting and reaffirming the rates of taxation referred to in Chapter 2, Taxation of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township, fixing the tax rate for the year 2021 and appropriating specific sums estimated to be required for the specific purposes of the township government hereinafter set forth during the current fiscal year and providing for a repealer clause, severability clause, and effective date. Renee, would you like to present on this topic, please?
Sure, I'll say a few words and I'm going to turn it over to Scott. Tonight is the culmination of a lot of work done by staff and getting the budget to a point that we're proud to say that there are no tax increases proposed. And so again, this is the culmination of department heads, finance, and the entire staff. And so we're really proud to be able to present the budget tonight. And this is the final step. We've held multiple budget workshops, and also Scott, as Director of Finance, has publicly read the budget at the November 18th and the December 2nd meetings. So I will turn it over to Scott at this time.
Good evening, Commissioners. As Renee stated, this is the final process in our budget process, the final step in the budget process. This ordinance is setting the taxation rates that we have in place. As was mentioned before, there is no tax increase scheduled for the 2021 budget year, and the budget has been read at both the November 18th meeting and the December 2nd meeting. I don't have anything else to add.
Thank you, Scott. Are there any questions or comments from the board on the final reading of the budget? All right. That being said, we do have an opportunity and a need to make a motion to move forward with the budget as advertised and presented this evening, the ordinance. Do I hear a motion to accept said ordinance as explained?
I'll make the motion.
Actually, I apologize, everyone. I didn't give the opportunity for public comment. Can we make sure that, Renee, we have the chat on? I apologize.
It's on.
Okay, great. This is the same budget that we've read. We've had multiple readings. This is the final reading of the budget and possible adoption. Are there any questions or comments from the public? All right, that being said, we'll move forward then. I apologize. Commissioner Sutton, did you have the motion?
I think Commissioner Mobilio did that. I'll second it.
All right, Commissioner Mobilio made the motion. We have a second from Commissioner Sutton. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Morgan? I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. Rob Hodges, I typed it in a little bit late, but I did have a.
My apologies. Yes,
It's all
sure,
right.
your
It's my
question.
fault. I just want to understand how we know these numbers are correct if we don't have audits completed for the last 5 years.
Renee, I'll defer to you and Scott on an answer for that.
Again, the audits are irrelevant really in the budgeting process, the way the government audit works. So again, this is a zero-based budget that occurs every year, and the revenues and expenses are calculated on an annual basis.
But my understanding from the previous budget discussion was that we're taking money out of, for lack of a better term, savings in order to cover some of the shortfalls. So if
No,
you don't
that's-
even know how much.
No, we don't take money out of a savings. There's a cash carry forward every year
Isn't that the same?
on an unappropriated reserve.
Another word for the same thing?
Unappropriated reserve is not a savings account, so to speak.
Mr. Hodges, if I can add, we have a fiscal stability fund, which you might refer to as the Township savings account. The unappropriated reserve, as I explained the last time these questions were asked, has to do with the amount of cash that we don't end up spending in a current budget year that goes to the next budget year. So what that means is that if you have, let's say, $100 of budgeted expenses and $100 of budgeted revenues, and we bring in $100 of revenues, but only spend $80, we have $20 in a budgeted unappropriated reserve. So it's not a deficit, it's a cash carry forward into the next year. Does that help a little more?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I'm not sure I understand the question then.
Well, I guess I still don't understand. If we're trying to understand the township's finances and we don't have an audit done, then how do we know where we are even starting? With a cash carry account or anything else that would be called any other accounts.
Well, I
Mr.
mean,
We have an
bank
accounting.
accounts that show us how much cash we have in them, and we are actively tracking that daily.
And in addition, this is a zero-based budget from year to year. So we account for and accurately account for all expenses and revenues that come in a particular time period.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right. So we do have if we have no other questions, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. I'd need a roll call vote, please, Renee.
Commissioner Walk.
I have a statement that will explain my vote. With the utmost respect to everyone who worked on this budget and who is working hard on completing the audits, I cannot approve the 2021 budget because the last 4 audits for 2016, 17, 18, and 19 have not been completed. The 2021 budget depends on the audit verification of the prior year's balance sheets. An audit would tell us whether the revenues and expenditures are in balance and whether there are any expenditures from the previous years that are unpaid. The outstanding audits gives me pause due to a lack of confidence in the accuracy of the prior year balance sheets. There's another concern because the BOC does not have any information about the outstanding audits. The BOC doesn't know why the audits are not complete, the current audit status, nor when the audits will be complete. The Finance Committee commissioners raised these concerns about the audits during the past several BOC meetings, and we were told that a meeting to discuss this subject will not occur until February. The uncertainty regarding the outstanding audits is the reason why I don't have the confidence to approve the 2021 budget at this time. Thank you. I vote no.
Commissioner Mobilio.
I'm voting yes, and I'm taking a pause because I think we had 4 budget workshops, maybe 5. This is the 3rd reading of the budget, I believe. This is the first time that Commissioner Walk has mentioned that his vote in favor or against the budget had anything to do with any audits. I think it's a really a sad day for the township when we can't even trust our own staff to put together a budget, that we have people questioning whether numbers are accurate. An audit doesn't tell you how much money is in the bank. An audit tells you where the money was spent previously. You don't need an audit to know how much is in what accounts. You don't need an audit to know how much to budget for future needs and uses and resources. It is beyond comprehension why this is the first time that the issue of previous audits not being completed is being brought up as some kind of impediment to approving this budget. This budget has to be passed so we can spend the money. This budget has to be passed so we can provide services to the citizens. This is not I choose not to do this year. This has to be done. We cannot wait 6 months, 8 months, a year to pass a budget just because one person doesn't like the fact that an audit's not done from previous years. This is irresponsible. It's negligent. It's embarrassing. I vote yes for the budget, and I don't know what else to say. It's incredibly disturbing that this is where this is going.
Okay, can we move forward then, Renee, with the vote?
Commissioner Kelly.
I'd like to make a statement as well. I appreciate both the comments from Commissioner Wilk and Mobilio. Certainly, it's been a difficult year with COVID. I do thank the administration and the finance team for working on this. But I do share Commissioner Wilk's frustration as a member serving on the Finance Committee, which is a committee that's tasked to review our finances. We haven't met since August, even though we have requested it. I don't know about the rest of you with your level to move forward with this, but when we've got, unfortunately, the stain of a past embezzlement, which is no reflection on anyone currently employed for the township, I'm not saying that, but with no timetable for audits being done, finance committee meetings not being scheduled, even though we've asked for them. I have raised some concerns throughout this budget process that I had with some of the projections and numbers that were used. And for those reasons, I am not able to vote for this, so I am a no.
Commissioner Seton,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes, and I absolutely concur with Commissioner Mobilio's statement. This is, in all the years I've been doing this, this is unbelievable. I agree. Staff has put a lot of energy and effort, and the information is accurate and what is needed to move forward with our budget. So motion carries, budget passes. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. All right, moving on to our resolutions for consideration and possible action this evening. First on the agenda, we have a resolution appointing Laura Harrier as the primary building code official of South Whitehall Township. George, would you like to present on this one, please?
I think probably Renee will handle this since it's a personnel.
Very
But
good.
Yeah, this again is a matter of routine. Laura Harrier, we're doing some internal shifts in job responsibilities. So Laura Harrier is taking over as the primary building code official as of January 1st. And so this again is required as a resolution for the building code official.
I would add, for the commissioner's pleasure, you know, this gives the community development department the opportunity to bring that service in-house or under the community development department where it's not currently housed. The great thing about it is we're going to be able to expedite services, I think, to a certain degree, and it's really going to help the residents out. Laura, as you know, is involved heavily in the zoning side of things, as well as the land planning side of things. So to bring that experience into that building aspect is really going to be beneficial, I think. And she's a terrific employee. She has been for a long time. And I wholeheartedly support or wholeheartedly endorse the recommendation here.
George, thank you. Absolutely. Great individual in Laura. We're lucky to have her here in the township, and certainly to be considered for the building code official. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this particular resolution?
Yes, Commissioner Morgan, I just have a question. Thank you, George and Renee, for discussing the background here. It sounds like it's a good thing to have the building inspector in-house. I guess the thing that causes me to stop and wonder about this is I know that Laura Harrier is an excellent zoning officer. I've seen her act on the zoning hearing board and watched her interactions. And I guess I'm questioning at this point to move her out of zoning when we are in the midst of what is an important stage for the township. We're in the middle of our comp plan update, which is going to lead to zoning ordinance reviews. And I'm just questioning not having her experience in leadership to go down that road. Is there a possibility we could find someone else to do building and let her continue to work to get us through this comp plan? Because she does bring an awful lot of background experience and work with the township, and her knowledge is invaluable in my opinion.
Well, this doesn't mean she's not doing zoning anymore. This is designating her a primary building code official. Laura still has input into zoning. And again, this is an internal staffing issue with the roles and responsibilities and what works best for the department. So again, it has no impact on Laura not being able to give input into zoning. Again, as George explained, this brings everything under one department, and it's again a department that works collaboratively across zoning, planning, and all fields of the community development. So again, that point is really is not to do with the primary building code official responsibility.
So Renee, just to clarify, so you're saying that she will still be in a lead position working on the zoning ordinance when we begin to look at that?
Laura is still in the community development department, which involves with zoning. So Laura's expertise in zoning will continue to be used. Mhm.
I understand that, but I'm saying that the process of going through our zoning ordinance is, I'm sure, going to be a little bit tedious and time consuming. So if she's got split duties with building code, I mean, will she, practically
We will
speaking,
have
be
time to dedicate to the zoning ordinance, yes.
With all due respect, a staffing issue and question like this, although I respect your questions, Diane, and your interest in this, certainly staff, Renee, and the executive staff put energy and effort and thought into the best use of the employees and the talents that we have on staff. So I really do defer to them to make the best decisions from a staffing standpoint. Certainly Renee, her background is HR, so I would respectfully defer to her on the best direction for staffing for the township. It's really not necessarily for us as commissioners to make the staffing recommendations at that level. Although I do appreciate your questions, I think that's worthwhile, but I think we need to put our faith in Renee and her executive staff on making good decisions for how to handle that.
I appreciate that. And just for the knowledge of the public, the packet information we got only had the resolution to appoint her. I didn't have any background to what was going on and why, and what does that mean as we head into our comp plan update, which is very important for the township. And I was just asking questions so that my vote can be made with knowledge and not just vote yes because there's a resolution before us.
I have some comments.
Yep, Commissioner Walk.
First of all, I'd like to say this comes up many meetings. Renee Bickle, Township Manager, has the responsibility for staffing. We depend on her to make the best decisions for the township. I do have some comments similar to Commissioner Kelly. I don't think this so much as a staffing issue. This has to do with what's in the best benefit for the township at this time. So I may repeat a couple things here, but I actually don't think we can consider this alone without talking about the backfill for the zoning position. Because Renee has said, she said Laura's going to have input. That's sort of a weak terminology, to be honest. Laura's highly qualified as a zoning officer. She's done excellent performance. She's got 14 years total experience in being a zoning officer between Lehigh Township and South Whitehall. And we need somebody with that qualification in the seat, not giving input to the seat, but like in the seat when we go through this next 1 to 2 years. The main responsibility that the zoning officer has for the zoning code is for the zoning code. And even more importantly, it's to understand and interpret the zoning code. And that's the most important responsibility. And it's critically important that they be involved and manage the zoning ordinance changes. So South Whitehall is in the process of updating the 10-year comprehensive plan and all the associated zoning changes, which will impact the entire future growth and development in the township, which includes the 900+ acre Juris property in the northeast section of the township. So I think it's critical to keep someone with the level of experience that
I would just unplug from the source
position
like
as
out
we
of
update
the wall.
As we update the comp plan and the zoning ordinance. So that's, I mean, honestly, that's where I stand. Now, we're expected to vote on Laura here for moving to this new position without discussing the backfill, which is the next item on the agenda. Could somebody tell us a little bit about the person who's designated to succeed Laura? It's Aaron Silverstein, who I've never met and who I know nothing about. What is Aaron Silverstein's qualifications for filling the zoning position.
Again, these are routine staffing issues. Laura is currently duly certified as a building code official, and she does that job right now as a backup. This allows Laura, again, as I said, the community development team, and George can attest to this, works collaboratively. There was never anybody that said that Laura won't be involved in the comp plan or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure. Again, these are internal staffing issues that have been identified by the leadership in the community development department and myself. Again, reviewed and approved. Both Laura and Aaron Silverstein are duly qualified to do the roles. These are matters of routine nature where Laura already does this. She's just moving to a primary role. Again, internal staffing issues. Laura is still going to be involved in zoning. Aaron is currently in code enforcement and again is transitioning into zoning. So again, you know, these are resolutions that are required to allow them to perform their duties. So again, I'm not quite sure I have anything else to say at this point.
I think it's important to mention something here, if I could, Commissioner Walk. I just want to put this in perspective. Although I appreciate the questions about the individuals and the different things we have going on, we cannot lose sight of the fact that as commissioners, we certainly can ask questions. Absolutely, we should ask questions. But at this point, I believe we are so deep in the weeds. This is administrative operations, administrative, not legislative. We're legislators, not administrators. We have staff that handles these matters that we pay well, we have entrusted. They have done nothing but prove themselves to make good decisions for this township. To go to this length to question these types of things, I think is a lot. I just need to make that point because I think we're losing sight of our responsibility as commissioners right now. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't ask questions. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying when it comes to making staffing decisions like these, that is ultimately the decision of our township manager and her executive staff. I just want to bring that up. It's just a point that I thought was very important.
So I thank you for that. I have one, since you've clarified again the accountability for the staff. I just want to say, as a commissioner, I have an accountability for the growth of the township and the future land development of the township, which is going to be highly dependent on the comprehensive plan and the zoning changes that are going to be made. Everyone knows that the entire future growth of the township is going to be depending on the zoning changes. And that's why I think Commissioner Kelly spoke, and I'm speaking at this length about the need for a qualified zoning officer. I'd like to highlight, you can choose whether to answer it or not. I'd like to highlight that I asked the question, what is Aaron Silverstein's qualifications to become the zoning officer? I asked the question, there was no answer.
Can I please, go ahead, Mike.
I have one more comment that I'd like to make. Well, let me make it and then you go ahead. So, yeah, you know, being given like 2 days to look at this and try to think it through, what are the important issues, which I'm trying to express this evening. Did a little research, and I'm only going to offer this as a reference point. If there's a transition that's desired with people movement and people's jobs responsibilities, I have a reference point from a neighboring township where they have a zoning officer who's been in the job for many, many years and is probably approaching retirement. And then recognizing that and recognizing the need for a transition, they recruited and they selected someone to be the deputy zoning officer. All right, and that person is in place, doing what has been described here, learning from the senior zoning officer, and eventually that person will retire and the deputy zoning officer will become the zoning officer. That to me sounds like a good model for a municipality. That is an exact model that was used at the corporation that I worked in, especially in positions that had very specific and specialized skill sets. I consider the zoning officer is a position that requires those specialized skill sets. And that's why I'm speaking at this length on this subject. Thank you for listening.
Can I make a
Just for the
comment now?
record,
Also, just make another point here is that Laura Harrier is still continuing in responsibilities in zoning. As we said, she's there, she remains there, and she has been working with Aaron Silverstein in his role in a mentorship, and that will continue. In addition to Laura in community development, we have a leader in Dave Manhart who has experience in many years of community development and zoning related issues. So again, a more than competent team of individuals with Laura, Aaron, Dave, Greg, again, to collaboratively work with outside consultants and internal staff on the success of the comp plan.
Can I please make a comment now? So it's really upsetting because when I see this on the agenda, I don't think this is just something, and I know it's not just something that gets thrown up here without Laura's input, without Aaron's input, without lengthy conversations with both of them. And yet here we are arguing whether we should force Laura Harrier to remain in her current position rather than move into this other position because we need her to do something else without any consideration for whether that's what she wants, whether that's was ever part of the conversation, without regard for likely the lengthy conversations that Laura and Renee and other people have had about why Laura is willing to move into this other role, about why she's willing to leave zoning, about why Aaron wants to move into zoning or why we want him to be in zoning. So we're treating, again, some commissioners on this board continue to treat our staff like interchangeable widgets that we see their names pop up and we can publicly blame or shame them, or we can say that we need them to do something that perhaps was not in their long-term plan or was not in our staff's long-term plan or Renee's long-term plan. We should be deferential to the fact that when these things come up for us to decide, make decisions on, a lot more thought, energy, and consideration went into to even make these proposals than we could ever consider and do ourselves. Laura, I'm sure, I know Laura well. I sat next to her for, I think, over a year, maybe 2 years on the zoning board. She is an excellent zoning officer. There's no doubt about it. But there's obviously a reason why she's willing or desirous to move out of that full-time role into building code official. So why don't we step back and think for a second, what will this do to Laura? What if Laura decides she doesn't want any part of the township anymore because she was really hoping to move into this new role and the commissioner said, well, too bad, you stay where you are. We cannot continue to treat people like their feelings don't matter, like their contributions don't matter, and that everyone's just, a commissioner's vote away from being out the door to try to replace them with a new process or new procedure. I think it's unfair to these folks that keep coming before us to volunteer roles, paid roles, and they're just, for whatever reason, just treated like them personally are just immaterial, that they're just a body and we're going to replace them with a better body or a whatever. So, it's just so disappointing that we just can't just agree to let our staff make those types of staffing decisions and trust that they actually that this is what Laura wants, that this is what Renee thinks is best. Why do we have to second guess everything that the staff does? I don't think it's fair.
I just like to make one comment. I'm certainly not second guessing everyone. I'm taking this as
Jesus Christ. You know what?
And excuse me. Needing to make a decision for the good of the township with the recommendations absolutely of the township manager and staff. That's not anything that I've questioned. I'm just trying to understand the process and what we're doing here.
Okay, so we do have a resolution for consideration this evening. If there's no more comment, is there any questions from the public? Otherwise, I think we need to move towards a vote for consideration appointing Laura Harrier as our primary building code official. Any questions from the public? All right, hearing none. Do I hear a motion this evening appointing Laura Harrier as the primary building code official of South Whitehall Township? I actually will make that motion. I make that motion. Commissioner Morgan.
And I'll be happy to second it. I do want to say that Laura will continue to be an employee of the township. I am sure, I have 100% confidence that if we do need her and need her knowledge to contribute towards the comprehensive plan, I am sure that she will be there for us.
All right, so we have, thank you, Commissioner Seton. We have a motion on the floor and a second from Commissioner Seton. Can I please have a roll call vote, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Seton.
Aye.
Commissioner
I already
Morgan.
said that.
Aye from Commissioner Morgan. Congratulations, Laura. Thank you for the great work you do. Looking forward to more great things. All right. Next for consideration this evening, we have a resolution appointing Aaron Silverstein as our South Whitehall Township zoning officer. Renee or George, did you have anything you wanted to add to this one?
No, again, this is an opportunity for Aaron to learn a new role. He's extremely grateful for it. And again, a matter of routine appointment that, we appoint him as a zoning officer to fulfill some of the duties of that role. So again, Aaron will be great at this, and he's sure looking forward to transitioning into some added responsibility.
Can I ask George a question? George, you there?
Yeah, sure.
George, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but considering the fact that the comp plan is not finalized, when realistically would Aaron or any zoning officer need to do anything with regard to zoning changes or proposed zoning changes? I mean, aren't we talking like 11, 12 months from now?
Yeah, good point, Commissioner Mobilio. We've had lengthy discussions, obviously, with both Laura and Aaron on this. And, one of the things as a manager, especially in a small department, what you want to do is give people the opportunity to rise up within that organization. Otherwise, you run the risk of losing them. Part of the conversation was these are exciting new opportunities for both of them. So they're really looking forward to it. But to get to your point, the comp plan is likely to be completed probably by early summer. By the time you get into a zoning ordinance rewrite, you're going to get a consultant on board to start thinking about how you're going to posture that going forward. You're going to be looking at late summer, early fall at the very earliest. Laura will continue to be completely involved in all aspects. One of the things about a small department too is you have to be involved in all aspects of every little piece of the organization. So Laura's involved in the permitting process now. She's involved in zoning, obviously. She's also involved in land development and the planning aspect. So she works with Greg, myself, Dave. We all cross-pollinate within that organization. It's the same with Aaron. Aaron's currently a code enforcement officer, but he is a bright and knowledgeable individual who wants to do more and wants to learn more and wants to help the citizen, wants to put himself in the best position to assist the citizens of South Whitehall Township. So these opportunities don't come along often in a governmental setting. So to give them an opportunity to do more, to know more, it provides that incentive for them to be even better at their job. So to me, these are two really good and critical moves because you're creating a department now that has a skill set that cross-pollinates. So I'm not sure I answered your question, but I don't anticipate getting into a zoning rewrite probably till the end of next year. But again, Laura and Aaron would both be involved in that aspect of that comprehensive plan update.
And when we do get to that point, will there be any circumstances in which Aaron would be responsible for unilaterally changing zoning ordinances, regulations? Would he ever have that type of authority?
No, of course not. I mean, it takes a village. It's a whole department our whole department is involved in that comp plan update. And all of South Whitehall, all the departments of South Township are involved in that update. So it is a movement where you're going to have input from multi-departments, multi-professionals, and the more that each professional knows about each individual aspect of every position, the more beneficial they're going to be to that input. So, I think these are good moves. I think they're going to just benefit the citizens moving forward. I think both Aaron and Laura will be very valuable in working through not only the comp plan, but the zoning ordinances that follow, in the future. So, I think it's important to get a code enforcement person. Now you have that code enforcement perspective, which if you think about it, the comp plan trickles into the zoning ordinance. Well, what does the zoning ordinance trickle into? In the code enforcement, right? So having that base of knowledge all through all those tiers of that development is critical, in my opinion. And I think you got two valuable employees that are willing to step up and do more. And I think that's a great thing.
So George, I'd like to thank you for that excellent explanation. It was very valuable. I think the way you described it and the detail that you did, it demonstrates your knowledge and the excellent job that you're doing in managing the overall department.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. I actually forgot where we're at. Did we make a motion on this, or did you have more questions? All right. Were there any questions from the public? All right. That being said, do I hear a motion to move forward appointing Mr. Aaron Silverstein as our South Whitehall Township Zoning Officer?
So moved.
That's from Commissioner Mobilio. Motion from Commissioner Mobilio. Do I hear a second? I'll make a second from Commissioner Seton. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Seton.
Hi, I just want to add something in regards to something that George said, and I think he's echo what he said in regards to having some good employees and continue to keep them and do everything that we can to maintain and keep them in the township, regardless of which role it is. If they're good, they should be there.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work, George.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye. Motion carries. And congratulations to Aaron. He's doing an amazing job for the township. We're blessed to have him here. Looking forward to more great things. Thank you, Aaron. All right, moving on for consideration and possible action tonight. We have a resolution authorizing the tax collector of South Whitehall Township to appoint Scott Adams III to serve as a tax collector deputy for the Township of South Whitehall. Renee.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Scott Adams is here, but as you're aware, the tax collector is an elected official in the township. And Lynanne Cosin is our current tax collector, and she has deputies that assist her in the role as tax collector. The reason for Scott's appointment tonight is that one of the deputy tax collectors has relocated out of the area. So again, this is authorizing the appointment of Scott Adams. Once this resolution is approved, then Mr. Adams is sworn in by the magistrate's office. So again, this is for them to collect taxes on behalf of the township. The school district did shares in this responsibility. However, it lies with the township to appoint, and the school district did recommend this appointment as well.
Thanks, Renee. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this particular resolution?
Renee, would you just clarify, you said the school district recommended, is this someone that has worked for them?
No, the school district recommended this appointment as well. This person works in the tax collector's office, but they collect Parkland School District taxes. That's why the tax collector collects not only our taxes, but the school district's.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right. Any questions from the public? All righty. With no questions, do I hear a motion to move forward with authorizing the tax collector of South Whitehall Township to appoint Scott Adams III to serve as the deputy tax collector?
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Commissioner Kelly. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I'll make a second. Oh, we have a second from Commissioner Sutton. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Sutton,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye. Motion carries. Excellent. If Scott's on the call, congratulations, Scott. All right. Next this evening for consideration and possible action, we have a resolution extending conditional offer of employment to the entry-level position of patrol officer in the Township's Police Department to candidate number 40141, conditioned upon the individual satisfactorily completing the medical and psychological examinations to confirm their fitness for duty. Chief Dorney, would you like to add to this one?
Yes, Commissioner Morgan, thank you very much. This is just procedural in nature, just essentially working our way through our civil service list. And this is the next candidate that we would like to offer a conditional offer of employment to start working on the background investigation and go through the process to try to add yet another person to the South Whitehall Township Police Department for one of the open vacancies.
Excellent. Any questions from the board on this particular resolution to Chief Dorney? Any from the public? All right, that being said, do I hear a motion to move forward with the conditional offer to candidate number 40141?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Kelly. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Mobilio. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Sutton,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye, motion carries. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
You're very welcome. Next for consideration this evening, we have a resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to major subdivision plan entitled 1960 Harold Avenue. George.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. This plan was actually approved back in December of last year, December 18. And they had, as part of that approval, resolution condition number 11, at the time permitted 12 months to satisfy conditions and get the plan recorded. And if the commission recalls, this is a request to subdivide about a half-acre property into 6 lots, including 5 for townhomes and 1 for family home. Applicant has not been able to record within the year, so they are now requesting a 90-day extension. We did not get the request in writing, so I'm not 100% certain on the rationale for the extension request or what has delayed them. Most likely, the year being a COVID year had something to do with it. But I believe the applicant is in the audience. and we'll go ahead and speak to this. I think I saw Dave Pisacco, if he's there.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, we really just got hung up for, it must have been close to 6 months from DEP, just getting our sewer module. And everything was just on hold until we got that. We finally got it a few weeks ago, and we scrambled to try to get everything else done, and we weren't quite able to make it. We actually have everything done, except they need something else from our insurance person, and we just need the Mylars to record the plan, and that's it. The agreements are signed, the fees have been paid, the letter of credit's there, pretty much everything's done. We really only need a few more days, actually.
And real quickly, just for the commission's edification, we've heard that a lot from the development community, that the DEP has been really slow this year. And I think maybe that's part, again, going back to the pandemic. And
I'm sure that's part of it. Yeah, they're working from home, and I think things just are not getting done.
Right. So agreed. And the request is for a 90-day extension here.
Yeah, but we need very little of that. We're anxious to get moving as soon as possible.
And thanks, Dave. Thanks, George. Are there any questions from the board on this request for an extension? Any questions? Well, any other comments from engineering? Tony, you have anything?
No, they've actually satisfied all our conditions, and I believe we signed the plans and sent them to the township, so they're clean through our end.
Excellent. Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions from the public? And assuming, Joe, no legal issues from your end?
No issues at all.
Excellent. All right. That being said, I'm not hearing any other questions or comments. Do I hear and no questions from the public that I see? Do I hear a motion to move forward, granting an extension to the conditional preliminary final approval to a major subdivision plan entitled 1960 Harold Ave?
So moved.
A motion on the floor from Commissioner Kelly. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll make a second. Well, we have a second there from, I think that was Commissioner Walk.
Yes.
Yep. Can we have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Seton,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye, motion carries. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Next, for consideration this evening, we have a resolution amending resolution. You're welcome. Number 2020-26, permit security draws presentation further than 60 miles from the township's office for a major plan entitled Parkland Manor Phase 4 Senior Living. George.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. You may recall back in June approving this resolution. This was a proposal for an 80-unit 4-story senior living facility along Crackersport. Applicant is actually requesting at this time the opportunity to permit security draws from a financial institution that is more than 60 miles away. Specifically, we're looking at a bank in Baltimore, Maryland. If you recall, there has been precedent for this type of request in the past, and should the BOC wish to authorize the request, the approving resolution is actually adjusted to assure any staff expenses related to the request are borne entirely by the applicant. But at this point, I'll give way to whoever might be out there representing Parkland Manor.
Mr. Kinney, this is Joel Weiner, W-I-E-N-E-R. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Our request is to allow M&T Bank has agreed to post the letter of credit for our client Crackersport Racquetball. The problem is that although M&T does have branches within South Whitehall and over in Allentown, their international department, where they take all letter of credit draws, has one office in Baltimore, Maryland. They require that all draws be made at the Baltimore office. They will accept Federal Express or UPS or courier deliveries, as well as something that would be direct delivered. For that reason, we would respectfully request that we be granted permission to use M&T Bank, and the applicant would bear the expenses that the township would incur to make a personal delivery there if the occasion was needed. And M&T is the lender on the property in question.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this particular request resolution?
The question I might have for Attorney Weiner is that is M&T Bank, are they going to post the whole amount?
Yeah, they would post the amount of the letter of credit. They would be giving us the letter of credit for the required amount. I apologize, I don't recall what the amount is of it, but yes.
But it's the entire amount that's required?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board? Are there any questions from the public? All right. That being said, do I hear a motion to move forward, amending resolution number 2020-46 to permit security drawdown for the Parkland Manor Phase 4 Senior Living Project?
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
Well, if it's a throw up there between Commissioner Seton and Commissioner Kelly, we'll break it up a little bit. Commissioner Seton, we'll give that one to you. By Commissioner Seton. Commissioner Kelly, would you like to second?
Second.
Yep. Second by Commissioner Kelly. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio.
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Seton.
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
You got it. All right, next this evening for consideration and possible action, we have a motion requesting permission to award bid for the variable frequency drives at Jacoby Water Station. Mr. Randy.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Morgan. Good evening, commissioners. I do know Herb Bender and Mike Elias would love to be here tonight to help present this, but they are obviously tied up with other responsibilities here tonight. So we wish them all the safety and getting this snow cleaned up for us. But what we have in front of us here tonight is a request to award the bid for the VFDs at Jacoby Water Station. This bid recently went out, and we did receive 5 companies that submitted proposals to furnish and install the variable frequency drives at the Jacoby Water Station. After review with our Public Works leadership, as well as our purchasing agent, Donna Zacharu, we are respectfully requesting permission to award the bid to Billatier Electric in the amount of $32,752. Our purchasing agent, Donna Zacharu, did in fact check references that were included in their bid. Those references checked out. We also verified that all of the proper paperwork was submitted, which it was. So with that said, this bid does include the furnishing and the installation of the 2 VFDs for the existing water booster pumps, and includes all the panels, wiring, conduits, and ties to the existing panels. A VFD is something that actually helps to slow down the startup process of these booster pumps, rather than jolting it with energy and kicking the pump on right away, shaking the whole system. That's when you start to see wear and tear of your system and other costly expenses get incurred. So this is actually something that slows down that process, that buildup of energy into the pumps, and makes it a much more efficient system and helps the overall system as well. So with all that said, we're respectfully requesting permission to award this bid in the amount of $32,752 to Billatier Electric.
Thanks, Randy. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this particular request to purchase?
Just a quick question, Randy, on the bids. You said you received 5. Is this the lowest bid, or how was this particular bid chosen?
That's correct, Commissioner Kelly. This was the lowest responsive bid.
Very good, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All right, that being said, do I hear a motion to move forward to award the bid to Billatier in the amount of $32,752 for the VFD drives for Jacoby Water Station?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Kelly. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Walk. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Seton,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Randy. One more for you, Randy. Don't go anywhere yet. Next for consideration, we have a motion requesting permission to proceed with the purchase of a replacement restroom at Covered Bridge Park.
Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. I'm actually going to give Mike Cookitz, our Parks and Rec manager, some FaceTime here tonight. He's going to go ahead and present this one, but I'm also here to answer any questions you guys may have.
Excellent. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, good evening. How are we all doing?
We're doing great.
Excellent. Before you, commissioners, we have a memo to proceed with the purchase of the restroom in the amount of $152,400 for the much needed restroom in Covered Bridge Park. It does have 10 to 11 lead time from the time we purchase until it is going to arrive, which will actually work out very well to have it constructed right prior to spring here of this coming year for the residents.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any questions or comments? I'll make a quick comment. It's kind of, it doesn't have to do specific with the bathroom, but it's just going to be it's going to complement the amazing park, new park display we have down there at Covered Bridge Park. I think it's a much needed piece of a building that needs to be there to just further exemplify what was great down in our parks and our park system, and give that resource to our residents to be able to go down and enjoy the park in every way, shape, and form. So much needed. Any other questions, comments from the board?
Yeah, I just wanted to just piggyback on that, Tori, and that's, I had opportunity this past weekend to check out the park for the first time since it's opened, and I brought my 3 kids and my wife there, and it's amazing. You know, we typically would go to the park up in either Lone Lane Park or the one that's up that has a splash pad up in, I think it's Upper Macungie. And my kids love the South Whitehall one way better, and it's close to our house. I mean, it is really, I told Randy, I said, this is, you know, the crown jewel of an already, you know, beautiful park system. It's just very impressive. You guys should all be really proud. Of course, now there's just a concrete pad where bathrooms need to go to finish it off. But really just a tremendous job, and you guys should really all be very proud of yourselves.
Well said.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I just had a question. I remember at one of the Park and Rec meetings, I guess last, well, when they were still in person, there was conversation about maybe having the VOTEC school help to build the restroom. Has any progress been made on that? Is that a consideration at this point?
No progress has been made on that. We got a couple of different bids on this, and this was the lowest and best bid to include installation as well as the building. And honestly, with COVID and the restrictions being put on schools and extracurricular activities, I even wonder if they would be allowed at this point. But we do have a contractor lined up to complete the install.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Any questions from the public? All right, that being said.
Oh, I have a question.
Yep, sure. May I ask who this is?
Yes, this is Janice Smith. I live at 3749 Crestview Drive in Allentown, South Whitehall. I just wanted to know, with the new bathroom going is that going to be COVID savvy? Like, you know, where you put your hands underneath the water or anything like that, you know, with things the way they are?
Mike, do you have any feedback?
I do not believe that this has the motion sensor for the sinks in the restrooms in the original package that we've selected.
Is there a reason why that wouldn't be a consideration? I mean, besides cost probably, but.
Yeah, cost, functionality, potential for errors and problems down the road. And again, just looking at the different plumbing and electrical options there, we chose a pretty standard, hot water, cold water faucet system.
I will say that what we can do for that though is the motionless soap things and motionless paper towel dispensers, so that you could at least utilize a paper towel to turn the water off.
That's great. Thank you.
And hand sanitizer, Renee, and Mike, we could probably look into, if people didn't want to touch the faucet, you would still have the opportunity to use the hand sanitizer, the motion hand sanitizer option as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can look into that.
Yep. Very, very good thought. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay. That being said, do I hear a motion this evening to move forward with permission to proceed at the cost of $152,400 to the purchase and replacement of our restroom at Covered Bridge Park?
Make the
There was a couple on there.
I think Commissioner Wilk made a motion. I'll second it.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Walk, a second from Commissioner Kelly. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilia,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Seton,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye, motion carries. All right,
Thank
keep up the good work down there, Mike, in that park. It looks great. Everybody's doing a great job. All right. Next, last but not least, for consideration and discussion this evening, we have a motion to proceed with the Small Business Grants Program for businesses operating in South Whitehall Township. And this is in regards to COVID. I'm going to hand this over to Commissioner Mobilio to give a little presentation on the work. This is a follow-up to the discussion we had at our last board meeting on opportunities that might be available for COVID grants for our small businesses. So Commissioner Mobilio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Morgan. As we all know, the pandemic has rained havoc on our small businesses across the nation, but also including South Whitehall Township. As of March, 70% of all U.S. small businesses were shut down. And today, nearly 1/3 of small businesses in the U.S. are currently not operational. As a small business owner myself, I was incredibly grateful for various grant and loan opportunities that were made available by the state and federal government. But now that money is gone, and while our Congress debates the details of a new COVID relief package, our small businesses are hurting. Some of our local governments, including Allentown, Bethlehem, and most recently Lower Macungie Township, as well as Lehigh and Northampton counties, have established COVID relief funds to help their struggling small businesses. On November 18th, 2020, I introduced a proposal to establish a COVID relief fund for the benefit of South Whitehall Township businesses. Since then, I've been working with staff and our solicitor's office to investigate the feasibility of such a fund. Thanks in large part to the tireless efforts of our staff, especially Renee Bickle and Scott Barrett, I'm proud to announce that not only have we determined that such a fund is feasible, but we've established the outlines and framework of the creation of such a fund, fully developed the eligibility criteria, and have, conditioned on this board's approval, agreed to partner with the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, who will be responsible for the administrative tasks to implement the fund, accept applications, and distribute the funds. Jessica O'Donnell, who's the Executive Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce, is actually on the line tonight and can answer any questions about that process. The board and staff have been provided with all of the minutia, all the details of this program, and upon approval by the board of the creation of such a fund, including the eligibility criteria and application process, all that information will be made available to the public. Tonight, I'd like to focus on a couple of the most important aspects of the fund to answer any questions that the public and the board may have. First, the fund total will be $115,000. This was a number that was determined by Scott in our finance department and Renee Bickle as a number that the township felt comfortable funding this fund with, and we believe it's going to help a lot of businesses in the township. The fund that Laura McCungy recently funded was, I think, $46,000. So this is going to be substantially larger than that. The source of that funding would be the Fiscal Responsibility Fund, which I believe currently contains a little over $2 million. Scott will correct me if I'm wrong on that. No money from Weirs Dam that has been set aside for Weirs Dam will be used for this fund. Likewise, no money that the township received from a COVID relief fund is going to be used. That had been brought up as a possibility earlier in this process, but there were two major considerations that kept us from dipping into that fund. Number one, those funds were already allocated to other programs within the township, and perhaps most importantly, those funds would need to have been used by December 31st of this year. And because of the timing of what we're doing here of establishing this fund, there's just no way that we could actually distribute those monies or even earmark those monies to businesses within the next 15 days. It wouldn't be possible. It would be incredibly reckless for us to try to squeeze that in 15 days. So there's just no logistic possibility to use that COVID relief fund money. The maximum grant amount per business will be $3,500. That's not to say that all businesses will receive that. It's going to depend primarily on eligibility, how many businesses actually apply and qualify. And there's a host of eligibility criteria, probably 20 or 25 different criteria that I'm not going to go through now. Of course, I'm happy to answer any questions, but just some of the most important ones are only those businesses that are physically located in South Whitehall Township will be eligible. They have to have had gross income of less than $750,000 in each of the last 2 years. And to some of you might think that's a lot of money, a lot of gross income, but you have to understand that some of our restaurants have incredibly small profit margins. They could easily bring in that much money, but have a very small actual gross profit. So the number is $750,000. The business must have had a year-over-year loss of at least 20%. So in other words, if they earned $750 in 2019, in 2020, they would have had to have earned $600,000 or less. And those businesses with the greatest drop-off in income will be those businesses that will be first in line for the money. The business must be currently in operation and expect to remain in operation through 2020. Of course, we can't guarantee that a business can't guarantee they'll be in operation, but we're asking all businesses to sign a verification saying that they have no intent to close, closing is not imminent, and basically to verify under penalty of perjury that they in fact intend to remain in operation throughout the remainder of the year. The business cannot have any outstanding municipal liens or taxes owed, and the businesses cannot be home-based. And the reason for this is that the money is expected to be used primarily for rent and mortgage payments, utilities, employee salaries, and other costs associated with running a brick and mortar business. These grants are an investment in our community and in the future economic prosperity of our township. If we don't help the small businesses now when they need it most, they won't be there. They won't exist when the pandemic ends. And small businesses that have less than 20 employees actually account for 89% of all businesses in the entire country. So we cannot afford to lose them. These grants will not only help businesses stay afloat during this perilous time, but it sends a message to all of South Whitehall residents that we will not only stand with them when the going gets tough, but that we will do everything in our power to ensure and protect their way of life. So I urge my fellow board members to join me in the fight to save our small businesses and vote in favor of this fund and to partner with the Chamber of Commerce for its administration.
Commissioner Mobilio, I have to, thank you for that. And, it was a pleasure to, also put you in touch with the Chamber of Commerce, Jess and Ashley. I know they're here with us tonight. because this truly is the mission of the chamber and ultimately the mission of the township as well. I mean, you're absolutely right. Investing in the stability of our businesses ultimately is investing in our community as a whole. So, you know, I have to admit, you know, I am always very, very sensitive of utilizing funds from fiscal stability. I believe that's a fund that we need to be very cautious on. But this is a perfect example of a good reason to use that money for this particular reason, because we would be investing right back into our community and our businesses and ultimately our own economy. So I think it makes perfect sense. It is a unique situation due to COVID and an opportunity that I think we should take full advantage of. So I commend you on the work. I'm excited to be able to further work with the Chamber of Commerce. They're amazing to work with. I do a lot of work with them as well. And again, I definitely mirror your comments and urge the rest of the board to consider this as a valid option for us to pardon. Great job.
So, Commissioner Mobilio, I also want to commend you for a grand, really what I think is a grand idea. It's something that definitely will help our different businesses. Hopefully they can take advantage of it. In the past, there was conversation about the Wisdom monies that will be used, and you made it clear that it will not be used. So I want to make it part of the vote today. I also would like to, if possible, to get those monies that are in a different account back to the Wisdom account, and that the township, I believe, Renee, maybe you can highlight, is the 50,000 annual funds, are they still being generated into the Wisdom account?
I'm sorry, what was that, Joe?
Is the 50,000 annual contribution towards the $50,000 annual contribution towards the Wisdom, is that continued or is it stopped since we moved the funds into a different account?
We had it budgeted for the 2020 budget year.
Okay,
So,
and is it budgeted 21 as well?
It would go to fiscal stability fund. And so the only motion that you took back in May, which what I hear you saying is to restrict it, the motion you made back in May was to release the restriction on that money. That money maintained in fiscal stability and it just was unrestricted. So, so again, that money resides in our fiscal stability.
So am I to understand that the $115,000 that's required for this resolution, some of that money that was originally dedicated to Wisdom is going to go to this or not?
No, there is, again, the total account money in fiscal stability is over $2 million. And again, Scott can give the specific number, but that money is over $2 million. So that money would remain for Ware's Dam in the fiscal stability fund.
Joe,
and again, this money for this grant would have no impact on that money.
Commissioners, if I can add a word.
Sure, Scott.
So the $115,000 amount, that's coming out of our fiscal stability fund. Right now we have $2.2 million and change, $5,000 being change, $2.2 million in that account. That current number that we have in there is 13.81% of our operating budgeted expenses for the 2021 budget year. I know that the desire to have the fiscal stability fund is to be at 20%. And so the $115,000 amount was determined because when we refinance the building debt next fall and transfer the $1 million that we transferred last year from the fiscal stability fund for the building renovation project, when we transfer money back, that full amount will be at 20%. So that's why I went with the 115,000. It's kind of a random number, but we didn't just pull it out of a hat. There was a lot of consideration given to that. So
the commissioner's point is that the money for Weirs Dam, the Weirs Dam set aside and the money for the COVID grant are both currently within that fiscal stability fund, but they're not mutually exclusive. In other words, using that 115 for the COVID grant does not deplete the 150 set aside for Weirs Dam. They just happen to be located in the same space.
Well,
Correct.
If I understand it correctly, the $150,000 that was set aside for Weirs Dam is no longer there set aside for Weirs Dam. Am I understanding it correctly?
The title of the money of the action that you took in May unrestricted it for Weirs Dam, but the money still resided in the fiscal stability fund.
Yeah, so it didn't like it didn't go anywhere. It's just that portion of the fiscal stability fund was unrestricted.
So Commissioner Sutton, if you're looking just to restrict the money again, they could just put the restriction back on the money. The money never left that fund. It just was unrestricted. You're looking to get it restricted again.
I understand, Commissioner Morgan. I appreciate it. So I think what I would be very much in favor of that, as long as we can go back and restrict those $150,000 that we took from the Weirs Dam, restricted back to Weirs Dam only, and continue the contribution of the $50,000 annually into the Weirs Dam account. I will be totally in favor of Mr. Mobilio's plan and idea, as long as we can do that.
And I'm in full agreement with Commissioner Sutton.
Thank you, Commissioner Mobilio. So
I have no problem with, I have no problem with that either. That the money never left, so it's just a matter of putting the restriction back on again, which I'm fine with that.
Can we ask Attorney Zader to weigh in, because I did ask this question at the last meeting, and if I understood correctly, I thought that his answer was that it is designated again in the 2021 budget to be set aside, and the vote on the budget would make that so that a motion was not necessary to restrict that money again. Because I questioned, since we moved it out in May, don't we need a motion to move it back in?
Can we clarify that moving it out in May, the motion was made in May to unrestrict the fund. It was not to move the money. It was to unrestrict the money. So the money resides in fiscal stability as it has.
So the thing that passed with the budget passing, that doesn't have an impact on the money, whether or not it's unrestricted or restricted. It does, however, allow for the restriction of the $50,000 in the 2021 budget. So I just wanted that in there so that we could have all possibilities exist.
Okay. So again, I will support Commissioner Mobilio request, as long as the funds will become restricted for Weirs Dam. The $150,000 that was unrestricted become restricted again, and the $50,000 that is an annual contribution will go into a Weirs Dam account, or not account, or restricted into the Weirs Dam. As long as that is in place, I will support this resolution and make this part of the resolution.
But should we make this all one resolution? I don't know if that, Joe, Attorney Zader, I'll turn to you. I think we should keep this two separate resolutions, I would imagine, not the same.
It's certainly cleaner to do it that way. It's not unlawful to do it mixing the two, but it's cleaner and easier to understand what happens in the future. And should a change of heart occur, say in January or February, as to how things are going with one or the other of those two decisions, it makes it more difficult to deal with.
I was thinking of it more in the sense that the COVID relief fund is, and correct me, Commissioner Mobilio, if I'm wrong, but that's a temporary, that's a temporary thing, a temporary program, whereas the Wares Dam program isn't quite as temporary. That could be ongoing for a little bit longer. That's why I'm thinking they may be better two separate resolutions, because that would keep it very clean, like you said. So that would be my suggestion. In regards to the two proposals at hand here.
All right. Joe, are you okay with that?
Resolutions as long as both of them are being introduced at the same time.
Are there, we'll open it. We have two comparable but separate proposals in front of us. I think what we should do is first go to the board. Are there any questions or comments on the proposal from Matt and thoughts from Joe this evening?
I have a comment.
Commissioner Walk?
So, yeah. Thank you. So, Commissioner Mobilio, thank you very much for making the original proposal and for what appears to be an incredible amount of work that has been done in a very short period of time. So I think South Whitehall Township should support small businesses, as designed by this program. I support the program. The main issue is where the money should come from. So I have a couple points here. First, I would like to speak on behalf of a citizen who gave me unsolicited input to this when I heard the initial announcement, and so I'm going to speak on their behalf, and it goes to this issue of where the money comes from. Has to do with the use of taxpayer money. So the citizen would like to have clarity on where taxpayer money is spent. They're of the opinion that taxpayer money should not be used to support businesses. Other money, like the CARES grant money, should be used to support businesses. The thought is that taxpayer money, should go to assets that, have a longer life, like roads, water, sewers, and security. So this leads to the question, I suppose Solicitor Zader is the best person to answer this. I assume the group that's worked on this so far has addressed this issue. As posed by the citizen, where does the South Whitehall Township Charter state that South Whitehall Township can serve to support businesses? And where is it in the scope of the township to provide this support? And I suppose that means you use taxpayer money to provide this support. And the person I'm speaking on behalf of is in the meeting with us, and I'd like to give them the opportunity to speak as well, depending on Solicitor Zader's answer.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Walk, and whoever the citizen is. I'll be glad to answer that, because I'll admit, when I first heard of Commissioner Mobilio's proposal, well, I thought it was a great idea. I had some skepticism whether it would be allowed. And here's why. A municipality like South Whitehall Township does not have the ability, like a state or a federal government, to enact whatever kind of legislation, in our case ordinances, it wants to. We as a municipality only have the authority to exercise those rights that are given to us by the federal government and the state government. It's a organization and a government of limited powers. So I wasn't so sure that we'd be able to get over that hurdle in order to authorize this type of action. But I'm pleased to report that we quickly overcame that, and it's based upon provisions in the First Class Township Code that provide that authorization. And specifically, I'm talking about the new First Class Township Code, because the code, based upon a very recent change authorized by both houses of the legislature and signed by the governor, takes effect in the last 2 or 3 days of this calendar year, and therefore will be in effect starting next year, which is when the official action on this would be taken in January, should the board decide to move ahead with it today. And it specifically provides, in general terms, the authority of South Whitehall Township to take such actions and use its finances for maintenance of peace, good government, and welfare of the township and its trade, commerce, and manufacturers. And with general broad language like that, there are provisions in the law that specifically preempt the ability of local government to act, but the undertaking that we're discussing right now is not among them. So I'm confident in saying that this action can be taken by South Whitehall Township if this board chooses to do so.
Okay. May I have permission to ask the citizen if they have any follow-up on that? Silence means it's okay.
No, I'm on a line, Mike. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
This is Dave Fritz. I reside at 3624 Barrington Drive in Winchester Heights. And I had asked Mike about this. First of all, I agree with Mr. Mobilio's or Commissioner Mobilio's opening statement. The COVID challenges of the past year have been significant. I am a small business owner as well and have been challenged with that in my entire team. I'm fortunate to be an essential business, so we have battled through it many different ways in the past year. I really question this as a role for South Whitehall Township, given all of the available resources at the federal, state, and local through the chamber. Having read the chamber program, I am a chamber member and have been following this since the start, and see that the funding comes from businesses. It comes from BB&T, the chamber, David Jandal, Equinox, Capital Blue Cross, Dynergy, ESSA Bank, Wells Fargo, Walmart, Sam's Club, Amazon, and many other individual donors. I see a program that's available, and when I look at the 300 and some businesses that have already taken advantage of this, many of them are in South Whitehall Township. So there is a program in place. It's funded, and I wouldn't argue with anyone to say all programs could probably use more funding. I just don't see this as South Whitehall Township dollars. It's just, to me, it's not a long term. If there are businesses that are struggling at this point, I would say, with all of the empathy in the world, that those businesses getting a couple $1,000s isn't going to take them very far. And I'm not sure that's a practice we want to put in place. As a taxpayer, I don't agree with that at all. I think the role of the township is for roads, water and sewer, parks, security, good development, good building, all of that sort of thing. But business management is not one of them. And Solicitor Zader, I appreciate your comments on that. I probably would disagree with you that the broad scope gives us the authority to do that, but that's not my job. That's just my personal comment. But I don't see this as a good investment of South Whitehall Township taxpayer dollars. I see it as a great program run by the chamber, and the chamber is excellent at doing things like this. And I'm a longtime member of the chamber, and I think they do a tremendous job. And they can raise a lot more money than $115,000 from South Whitehall Township, and that money is clearly available to South Whitehall Township businesses that are in need, as are state and federal programs.
If I could just address a couple of the points, because I think some of the comments are based on perhaps misinformation, and that is that currently, while there is a federal program that's being debated in Congress, you know, the PPP loans were once and done, right? So I got a PPP loan. I don't know if Mr. Fritz got his PPP loan. Once you get that PPP loan, you don't get another PPP loan. As far as idle loans, again, neither one of those programs are, well, I don't know about PPP, but I know that idle is no longer accepting applications. I got an idle loan for my small business as well. The Chamber of Commerce, their program, my understanding was, and Jessica can answer this probably better than I can, I applied for a Chamber of Commerce grant as well. I did not receive it. And my understanding is that program for countywide residents is no longer funded, no longer available to anyone. And in addition, one of the criteria that we intend to impose on businesses that apply is that if they did receive a Chamber of Commerce grant previously, that any money that they might be eligible for in South Whitehall Township would be reduced by whatever they received from the chamber. So if they received $1,000 from the chamber and they'd apply for $1,000 here, they qualify for $1,000 here, they wouldn't get it. And I would just point out that Lower Macungie Township, their fund is only $46,000 and their maximum grant amount is only $1,000. So for as much as this board likes to compare us to other surrounding municipalities, Lower Macungie at least saw fit to offer even $1,000 as help for local businesses and thought that was enough to at least put a dent in some of the expenses that they're experiencing. So
I'd like to follow up on that. Thank you, everyone, for your comments so far, for the Commissioner Mobilio and staff that have worked on this. Well, first of all, I want to talk about Lower Macungie because I did read the article. I was following what they were doing in the media. Lower Macungie has 30,000 residents, so they're a larger township than we are. I think we're about 19 or 20,000. So yeah, they did use a lower number, 46,000. It did come from the COVID grant money, so it wasn't taxpayer dollars. So comparatively speaking, there are a few differences between their program and ours. And I want to go backwards a little bit, and I know we can't go back and change the past, but you know, South Whitehall Township did receive $326,000 of COVID grant money back in, I believe it was October, and the board was not made aware of it till a workshop for our budget, which was late October, early November. And I wish we could go back because it's really unfortunate that we weren't made aware that that money was brought to the township as a board so that we could talk about policy and have directed that and use South Whitehall as a pass-through for that grant money. All of the townships and counties that you've mentioned tonight that have done grant programs to small businesses has been grant money. I haven't seen any that have actually used taxpayer dollars. So that is certainly a consideration as we look at this. Another point I will raise, thank you, Scott, for talking about the Fiscal Stability Fund and where we will be next fall when $1 million transfer is put back in from the building reno. But I think the thing that we all need to remember is COVID is challenging our small businesses, and it will also challenge our budget next year. It's going to challenge our revenues. It's going to challenge our business privilege tax. It may challenge what amount of real estate taxes we collect. You know, we have a great budget in front and projections made, but this current year's budget missed the mark because of COVID, and we don't know how next year's will pan out at this point. So we've got a fiscal stability fund at 13.81%. If all goes well and we're happy and things move in a positive direction with COVID and the economy, I would love to see those numbers rise and get to the 20% that we desire to have in our fiscal stability. But short of that, that's certainly a consideration before we tap into those funds, because that's basically our rainy day fund. And one other comment, there's been a lot of comments that I'd like to discuss here tonight. I'm sorry if I'm being long. The federal level for the COVID relief, they are talking about $160 billion under the Small Business Protection Act, which is expected to be delivered to state and local governments for aid and to provide liability insurance for businesses. So there's a lot of money being talked about at the federal level. And from what I understand, what I've read even today, it looks like there should probably be a decision on that within the next week or so. I mean, it's imminent. It looks like there's a bipartisan effort to get this passed. Relief is needed. But when we talk about needs, certainly our small businesses are hurting, and that's something that I have been trying to talk to as many people as I can about. And that is, every day we have a choice to support our small businesses and shop local. And I commend the Chamber for the work that I know that they do in our community. And I would love to see the Chamber help us in that respect to, spotlight our small businesses, bring attention to them, and encourage our residents to shop here in our township. And that will certainly help to stimulate the businesses without tapping into taxpayer funds. So as I'm thinking about it that way, I think there's definitely a way to promote small businesses. For example, takeout at restaurants, go out of your way to find your local family restaurant and really promote those. So I'm happy to see that the Chamber's on board with us, but I'm certainly leaning more towards wanting to work in tandem with them in that manner, rather than taking money from our fiscal stability fund at this point.
Just to correct something very quickly, the portion of the COVID relief package that's been discussed in Congress has, as of today, in fact, I'm not quite sure what news source you're looking at, the Democrats, Democrats have, well, that as of literally like 2 hours ago, the Democrats have backed off on their insistence that state and local governments receive assistance from the government as part of the COVID relief package, in exchange for Mitch McConnell backing off his demand that the liability protections for businesses. So as the negotiations sit right now, there is no money for state and local governments in this package. Yes, there is going to be most likely another PPP program, but my understanding is that's going to focus almost exclusively on restaurants, the hospitality industry, and there's no guarantee, and nothing I've read has suggested that anyone who's already received money will be eligible for the new round, and there's nothing, and certainly nothing approved yet. So, we're just sit back and do nothing. We're responsible for our citizens. We shouldn't be asking the state and the federal government to do all of the heavy lifting. I appreciate everyone's concerns about where the money's coming from, but I just, the idea that we should do nothing but encourage people to go shop local. Again, if the small businesses don't make it, when COVID's over, what is our township going to look like if we lose? We have this particular grant. There are hundreds of businesses that may be eligible for this grant, which means there are hundreds of businesses that are in danger of closing. I mean, with 30% of all businesses having closed their doors potentially for good since March, do we want South Wales Township to be a bunch of shuttered for lease, for rent signs everywhere? Look, there's no guarantee that what we do here is going to make a difference, but I think it's our responsibility as the individuals who essentially run the township to do everything we can. We've been good stewards of the township tax dollars. The money is there. Will we have struggles next year bringing in additional revenues? Maybe, but maybe we won't. We thought we would this year. That's why we lifted the restrictions on the Weirs Dam money, because we were concerned, or at least I was concerned, and two other people were concerned, that if we don't do that and we need that money because of COVID, we might not be able to balance a budget this year. We didn't raise taxes this year, and there's no suggestion, at least at this point, that we'll raise them next year. There's a vaccine that's been approved and being distributed. By the summer of next year, every American may have already received that vaccine, and Dorney Park may be fully operational. And so to let businesses suffer and die now for something that may never come to fruition, I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Well,
if I could, Diane, to have a quick comment. I just want to make a note that we've had a lot of conversation on the money, where it's coming from, the CARES money. Well, the CARES money, it's my understanding, first and foremost, that is taxpayers' money. So it is taxpayers' money. And the fact that when we found out that what CARES money was coming into the township, I have to say, I'm not comfortable with making it sound like we weren't told in a timely manner. We were told in a timely manner as soon as we could be told how much money we were getting. So when the CARES money was received, or we were told how much we were receiving in South Whitehall, we probably had expended that money 2 times over with operational costs related to COVID. So that money was already accounted for 2 times over, without a doubt. I truly, the fact that, we keep coming back to, well, why don't we use the COVID money towards the businesses? In the long run, there really is no difference. It wouldn't have mattered, but that COVID money had already been accounted for with all the operational expenses related to COVID. So it's not like people were holding out or people weren't telling people anything. All that information was available. I know staff and Renee have provided very detailed information on what we needed to use that COVID money for. And when the recommendation was put into the county, we had to include all that information. So it was all there. And the fact that we're considering using the Fiscal Stability Fund, $115 one time, this is a one-time deal, due to this particular circumstance that we're in as a community, again, I think makes sense because it's an investment in the stability of our businesses, which ultimately are part of the stability of our overall community revenues and economic stability. So it makes sense. I'm so confused as to why a good thing we're spending hours trying to say, not go over the details of how it should work, but whether we should do it or not. I think, that's the bigger question. I believe it's a good plan. We should make something happen. And if we're going to make something happen, we have to do it quickly because these businesses need it now. That's what makes sense. So we can iron out all the details as we move forward without a doubt. But I think the decision that needs to be made tonight is, do we want to make a motion to move forward? I would assume that the CARES grant program that we need to do locally would need to be an ordinance. So we would need to make a motion to move forward to have Attorney Zader put together an ordinance, ironing out the details for us to approve or disapprove at the next meeting to move forward with this. And then on the other end, make a motion regarding the restriction of the Wares Dam money that Commissioner Sutton had mentioned. And those are the 2 things we're looking at tonight. So I don't want to lose focus on that.
Yeah. So this is Mike Walk. I actually have 2 more questions, but since you seem to be moving towards a motion, I'll just say in advance, I would like to make a motion to table this and have a workshop on it on the 2nd Wednesday in January. The reason I say that is, again, definitely appreciate, all the initiative, all the work that's been done. This is still relatively new, for us as the commissioners. And I think only a few citizens have had the opportunity to weigh in. So I'll make a motion to table. I still do want to cover 2 points though, or ask 2 questions. Let me come back to when Mr. Fritz contacted me and we had a discussion. I think he's already touched upon this. He talked about the feasibility that we could actually help businesses survive, and he gave his firsthand experience that even to keep a small business with a small number of employees employed, a matter of a couple months might take tens of thousands of dollars. And some business reasonably sized, that might take, like order magnitude $100,000 to keep them afloat forever, not just for another 1 or 2 years. So we haven't actually drawn that out here. Now this proposal is to give people like $3,500, which is a smaller amount. I did read the details that were published to us commissioners, and there's one line in there that says there's a criteria that business will have to state or explain how they will be in business by the end of I think it was 2021. That's very interesting. That sort of complies with Mr. Fritz's thinking. So may I ask, how are you going to do that? How is it's part of the interview process, I suppose, but what are you going to require from a business that says, hey, we're viable and we will still be here in a year?
Well, let me tell you, I'll tell you exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do exactly what the federal government did with their PPP money, what they did with their idle money, which, I mean, I assume that you and Mr. Fritz had a lengthy conversation about both of those programs. So you're probably as knowledgeable as I am, who acquired loans and programs through both of those. So I'm very familiar with it. I imagine you and Mr. Fritz talked about that at length. I will tell you that because of the imminent need for aid to businesses, the federal government required that the business owner provide a verification that what they're saying in their application is true and correct, and to the best of their knowledge and belief. Now, does that have, you know, will that guarantee that what someone signs their name to is 100% accurate? Of course not. There's going to be people that take advantage of the system no matter what we do. But the fact is that it was important to get money into the hands of the people that needed it. And if we were able to determine, for instance, someone gets a COVID loan or a COVID grant from the township and they go out of business a month later, we could go back after them and try to claw that money back. We'd have that ability through the application process. There is no need to make it be incredibly burdensome, because I mean, look, the person's going to put together some kind of projection, just like I do every single year, what they expect, the business they expect to do, and they provide it to us, and we take it as what it is, a projection. We can't guarantee it's accurate, but they'll be required to sign their name saying that these projections, these things that I'm saying in this application are correct. Just like when you go to buy a gun, you get a gun permit. I mean, you're giving a firearm to somebody, and all they have to do is say, yeah, I've never been arrested, I've never been deemed a mental defective, I've never had an alcohol problem, and the federal government says that's adequate to give someone a firearm or a concealed weapons permit. So that is the same. It's an honor system process. We're not talking about $100,000 or $1 million in funds. If we're talking about $3,500 and some people abuse the system, that's just the nature of any type of system like this. You can't guarantee that people won't try to find a way to cheat the system. That's how it is.
Yeah, and you know, I think as a township, it is our duty to try and do our best. Yes, $115,000 is not a lot of money. $3,500 per business is not a lot of money, but it is something, and it is our duty as a township to try and help our businesses as much as we can. And if this is the best we can do, let it be so. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay. So finally, I'd like to make my own comment or question. So as you know from other discussions, I am conservative with our finances, especially as it relates to the pandemic. We had a discussion at the last BOC meeting, you know, around the budget. The normal Dorney Park revenue is $1.6 million. The 2021 budget includes $800,000 or half of that, despite the fact that this year the revenue was only $156,000. I suggested, I think Commissioner Kelly did as well, you know, that we should do something more conservative and reduce the revenue down towards like $200,000 versus the $800,000. So that's sort of like my backdrop and frame of reference. I appreciate Scott Barrett's explanation of the stability fund where we're at, and this is a small portion of this. Nevertheless, I am reticent to agree to use $115,000 from the Fiscal Stability Fund. Last meeting, I asked as well, do we have a notion or have we done work? If we needed that $600,000 to cover Dorney Park, has work been done to identify where that might come from? And Renee Bickle said, yes, any work that's been in progress is, we still have line of sight of that. So my question is, would it be possible, rather than use $115,000 from the Fiscal Stability Fund, to find that money elsewhere in the budget? Presumably that would require, reducing the budget in some other section or sections. Would it be possible to do that rather than use the Fiscal Stability Fund?
Commissioners, may I add a word here?
Sure, Scott.
Sure.
All right. So that's a great question, Mike. That's a question that's been on my mind. And so the way that our budget process has worked, as you know, we have budgeted revenues and budgeted expenses. And if budgeted revenues exceed budgeted expenses in a given year, like I explained at the beginning of the meeting, those go into the budgeted unappropriated reserve for the next year. So what is possible at that level, with where revenues and expenses are, but what's possible at that level is that in a year where we spend far less money than we intended to, there are budgeted surpluses. So if I'm understanding your question, you're asking if we can explore the idea of a budgeted surplus and then take the money from that rather than the Fiscal Stability Fund. Is that about right?
Well, you're much more educated than me. I'm not sure I even understood everything you said. I'll just say what I meant more simply, and you can tell me whether this even makes sense. If we had, I don't know, if we had $10,000 budgeted in a section where when we reviewed it, we said, well, we had $10,000 last year, we got $10,000 next year. We typically don't usually use that 10 grand, but let's keep it in there anyway. We had discussions like that around, several line items. So that's the type of thing I'm thinking of. Would it be able to put together enough of those sections and have it add up to $115,000? And that way, that money's not being spent elsewhere. And then this $150,000 that's proposed to be used now goes back into the Stability Fund.
I see what you mean. I think here's what I'll say. My job is not to sway the board in any given direction. So I want to be clear with just everybody in that. So when I say things and when I give information, I don't want to portray a certain area that I want to go to. However, I do want everybody to have the available information that we have. I want everyone to have the best information possible. So I do know, what I do know is that what we have is and you're going to see this later on in the week, like later in the week. We're working on the November financials. I'm reviewing them right now. Preliminarily, we're doing very well when it comes to revenues and expenses. So we are within our 2020 budgeted revenues by $770,000 for the general fund. We are $4.1 million less in budgeted expenses as of November 30th. And you'll see that later on in the week. I just want everybody to have that information available when thinking about this, to just have that. We looked at these numbers earlier this week, and yeah, I just want that to be known.
Mike, I think your question, when we look at revenue and expenses, again, our expenses are always budgeted extremely conservatively, as well as our revenues. However, the $115,000 out of fiscal stability makes the most sense. If we show a deficit into an unappropriated reserve and show with a zero, at a point, we need to then recommend a tax increase in a year-over-year operating budget. So again, this is $115,000 out of the fiscal stability account, which is not considered for our routine daily annual operating expenses.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make one more comment.
Jesus Christ.
Well, whoever that is, did you want to say something? I certainly am sympathetic for businesses that are having issues with loss of revenue with COVID. And something that I think that would be maybe something that we could talk about is to provide tax relief to the businesses. Have we and should we consider maybe doing a reduction in our business privilege tax, which would be something we could spread across all of our businesses and give them some breathing room by providing tax relief.
Diane legally spoke to Joe Zader's office regarding that issue, and that did not seem to be a likely possibility. We can, as we did this year, we delayed the due date on business privilege tax, but as you may be aware, that business privilege, if it hadn't been already implemented, you cannot do that any longer for business privilege. It was and Joe, you can probably speak more specifically to this, but business privilege, if you hadn't opted into that, you can't do that any longer. So we were advised that, again, that would not be necessarily an option for this.
Just to clarify, you mean you are not able to reduce your township's business privilege tax ever?
Across the board, again, Joe would have to answer that legally, but again, business privilege is a grandfathered tax at this point, so any changes to that tax may have a widespread implication to the township finances.
Right, so I believe is it at 1% now? What if we were to take it to 0.75%, for example, just throwing out a number?
I do not believe you can do that on a temporary basis.
I'm not talking temporary, even long term. I mean, is it something that we could look at a restructure of overall of the township's finances? Because that would be a way to certainly help current small businesses as well as attract others to the township.
It would also impact our larger tax base, but again, potentially leading to a longer term financial impact to the township.
I mean, with all due respect, that's not really a subject of discussion. I mean, the COVID relief fund is the topic, not tax abatement or tax reduction. If we're talking about a completely different program, that's something that should be brought up during discussion items or put on agenda for another day. But that's not the subject matter. That's a different proposal.
Matter is to help small businesses during COVID. And last
not
meeting,
on the agenda. The agenda is for COVID relief fund. That's not. It doesn't say what do we do to help small businesses discussion item.
Well, COVID relief is to help small businesses. And the reason I'm asking is at our last meeting when you made the motion, Commissioner Mobilio, we agreed to basically do some exploration into this and bring it back to the board for discussion. So over the last couple of weeks, I've given some thought as to what could we do. It's not a one size fits all. There's certainly other avenues we could explore, and I'm just putting some options on the table.
Right, but none of those options are anything we could vote on tonight. We have something that's prepared for a vote. I mean, you and Mike will vote against it, but the fact is that it's there. Let's open it up to the public, have the final discussion on the grant, and then if you want to propose a tax abatement for another day, then we could do that. But the topic du jour is the fund itself.
Well, I believe there's a motion on the floor from Commissioner Wolf to table this to have further discussion based on the fact that this was just brought up to us at our last meeting and a vote was taken by the full board to begin to explore this. Certainly, this is something that just to be done from one meeting to the next to already have a vote. I was actually a little bit surprised, but I think I would second his motion and have opportunity to either talk about it in a workshop or at our next meeting to further investigate options to provide relief to our businesses.
Commissioner Kelly, your statement is factually inaccurate. I won't say it's a lie. I'll just say it's factually incorrect. And that is that this was brought up on November 18th, which was not our last meeting. Our last meeting was December 2nd. So
I stand corrected. No, it was 2 meetings ago. I'm sorry. At that meeting when we voted for this, it was to have you explore through legal for feasibility and bring it back to the board for discussion. I don't believe we talked about voting on this the next time it was brought up in our meeting.
well, it was brought up at on the Monday's agenda. I emailed everyone yesterday and asked if anyone had any, actually, I think it was Monday. I asked if anyone had any questions or concerns ahead of tonight's meeting, and I heard nothing. And here we are with questions and concerns. So,
We were
but
supposed to come back and talk about it as a board, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to hear everybody's input today. So thank you all.
can we, I think there's a comment from
We
the
have a
public.
motion. Yep, let's get the comments from the public. So do we have, I think we have a comment or a question from Jacob Roth. Jacob?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
You sure can.
Awesome. I first want to say that I think the idea of helping small businesses is great. And the idea of giving them this money is a really great idea. And I thank all of you who were involved, township staff, Commissioner Mobilio, other commissioners, for asking questions. I think this is a great effort, and I think it's good constructive debate that we need, especially in these tough times. I have a question for Commissioner Kelly, and I want to make sure I heard this right when you said it earlier. You said that you were only made aware of the COVID relief funds we've received from the federal government in November at a workshop. Is that correct?
Yes, it was listed as revenue on a grant sheet that was up on the screen.
So you were not made aware of it before that date?
No, we weren't. So the board did.
So
the board was not made aware.
So this is my question. Again, this is, only in relation to funding. Would it not be prudent of township staff and the commissioners that it would be up to the Board of Commissioners to appropriate those funds? I know Commissioner Morgan, you'd explained that those were used to cover operating costs and such, and I understand that, but would it not be prudent for the full Board of Commissioners, all 5 of you, to decide on where those funds would go? That way you could potentially use that money, non-taxpayer dollars, for COVID relief and Commissioner Mobilio's proposal, which I support, and then instead use fiscal stability to cover operating costs, which are taxpayer dollars and which benefit every taxpayer of the township. So I guess it's more of a statement that it would be more prudent for the full Board of Commissioners to allocate those funds rather than board members find out about those funds after they had already been used to cover costs. It's just a comment, and it's just something to think about. That way, there's openness and transparency within township staff, within the public, and within the Board of Commissioners. So nobody really has to answer that question. It's just a comment that I would like the board and the staff and the public to think about. I think this is really great work, and I hope that we can help our small businesses because they're really struggling. That's all I have. Thank you.
For the record, I'll just add, thank you, Jacob. For the record, I'll just add that I do know that Renee and staff did inquire with the county very early on the ability to where we could utilize the COVID CARES funds. And initially we were advised you could not use them outside of the operational needs for specific to the township, not outside to the businesses and things like that. That information didn't change till more recently when we got different information on what, for instance, Lower Macungie was doing. So again, I'm going to come back to the use of the COVID relief funds for operational costs. That 300 or whatever amount of dollars it was, $360,000, all of that money went right back into the township operating costs. It's not like it was misused or not used wisely. So I'm not really sure where we keep going with this. At the end of the day, the monies that are being suggested to be utilized for this small business COVID relief fund, which, mind you, again, is a temporary fund only during this COVID situation, makes perfect sense. And ultimately, if you put this money back into the businesses, ensuring that they do well and stay stable, it will come back twofold to the township, ultimately building our economy over time. That is the goal. That is what we're trying to do. And I did want to also mention, you know, Commissioner Kelly, you had said about looking at other alternatives to promote small business and things like that. All the things you mentioned, I can assure you, the Chamber of Commerce does all of those things all of the time, every single day. They are constantly promoting small business and constantly doing what they can to make sure that they stay stable in our communities. This is just an, for us, as a township, this is just an added measure during this unique circumstance. So that's just my comment on the COVID relief fund. So do we have any
short follow-up? Oh, I have a short follow-up to that.
I would also add, though, the county COVID relief grant was very specific for payroll, taxes, health insurance, and things that affected municipal employees. It was a per capita rate. So again, the county did not indicate usage of any grant money for the townships to give out to businesses. There was a very specific criteria. And again, the board was notified in the budget process. The money was received late in October. So, and that budget process started in October. So again, very clear, specific criteria the county provided to municipalities, which did not include giving the money out, re-granting money.
Okay, I think my short follow-up then, it's in a general sense then, regardless of use or whatever the county had advised you to do, which I understand, I think it would be prudent that all members, all commissioners, all members of the board be notified of that money when it is received, you know, rather than on a budget sheet in November that, you know, the CARES Act passed in March of this year. If it was received by the township in October and the commissioners only found out about it in November after it had already been, you know, used for operational costs, it would just, I find it puzzling that commissioners would not be made aware of that until it had already been marked up in the budget rather than being presented to the board and the public as we've received this money. And now it is up to the board to decide.
That way. And again, and it was very specific uses the county identified. So again, that the township justifies those expenses.
Okay, thank you.
As far as transparency goes, because I know people love to throw that term around rather loosely, the entire process, I think Commissioner Mobilio had mentioned, we had gone through 4 budget hearings, all of this information, the COVID CARES money, the details on where it was going, you know, how much we received. All of that information was passed to all of the commissioners in a timely and efficient manner. To even indicate that it wasn't is not true. I have to disagree with that. That information was shared where it needed to be shared and discussed. I mean, we had discussed it during the budget hearing meeting. So, you know, I think it's important to be very clear with that, because it can't be said that that information wasn't shared, because that's not true. So, are there any other questions from the public on this particular topic?
Commissioner Morgan, I just needed to make one follow-up to the 2 comments that were just.
God.
Very nice. Following the Lower Macungie, it looked like they had actually a workshop when their grant money was received, and their board talked about what they were going to do with it and how it would be dispersed throughout the township. And certainly, you know, I think that would be a great idea for us to do something like that when money that's not expected, certainly of that amount, comes in, that the full board would have help with directing where that would go.
Any other questions or comments? All right. So we do have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Walk and a second from Commissioner Kelly to table the COVID relief fund and discussion. So Renee, could you do a roll call vote on that, please?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
No.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Seton,
You know, this help that we're proposing, or Commissioner Mobilio is proposing, is very time sensitive. The people that need it, they need it now. We can't table this. This just does not make sense to me. So I'll vote no.
Commissioner Morgan,
I mirror Commissioner Sutton's comments. It's a time sensitive. There's been a lot of information that's already been provided for discussion. I vote no.
Commissioner Morgan, I would like to
Yes.
make a motion for the Board of Commissioners, South Whitehall Township, to approve the creation of a COVID-19 relief fund in the amount of $115,000, which will be funded by the Fiscal Stability Fund, and to utilize and partner with the Chamber of Commerce for the administration of the fund.
So I do have a suggestion for the wording of that, and I'll defer to to Attorney Zader. I think because of the type of request this is, it needs to be done as an ordinance. Would you need, Attorney Zader, would you need to, I would assume you'd need to review that or need to be put into an ordinance form? Is that the right approach?
That's correct. Based on the nature of this particular action, it would need to be an ordinance form. And therefore, my recommendation is that the action taken tonight is to direct my office to collaborate with staff to produce an ordinance for consideration by the board in January.
Commissioner Mobilio, are you,
I'd like to withdraw my previous motion and make a motion to direct Attorney Zader's office to create an ordinance reflecting the discussion of the board tonight, in the respect that the ordinance will address the creation of a COVID relief fund in the amounts as we had previously discussed.
all right. I'll second that motion to move forward with having Attorney Zader's office develop an ordinance for consideration at our January meeting. Could I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
I support the program. I think there's enough open issues, which is why I suggested tabling it, which failed. The 13th of January is only 16 business days away. I believe there's a sense of urgency, but I don't see why we couldn't wait till January 13th to have more discussion around the subject. So I support the program, but ironically, I'm going to vote no.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
I certainly do support the concept. I have many outstanding questions still at this point. I cannot support this, so I have to say no.
Commissioner Seton,
I support it. I will say yes, providing that I can follow after this a motion in regards to what I indicated earlier on the WISDAN.
Commissioner Morgan,
Aye, motion carries. And again, there is going to be another vote to finalize this at the next meeting. So if there are questions, they could come up between now and then. That's important to note. So motion carries.
Oh, go ahead. I have a point of order question. So how does one execute what Commissioner Seton has requested? I'm just asking procedurally. I think it's the first time I've heard in, this year that someone voted based on a condition that something happened. I'm just wondering how that works.
Well, he still has to make the motion. There's no guarantee that the motion will pass. I mean, he requested that an additional motion be considered. moving forward. He still voted on the motion that we just had in front of us.
Okay, so there will be a separate motion.
Yes, there has to be a separate motion. It's two separate motions. So there is no guarantee on the second motion. So, you know, Commissioner Seton, I'll defer to you on the motion that you're looking to put forth for the Wares Dam restriction of funds.
Okay, so I will make a motion to stop the restrictions of the Wares Dam fund and redivert it into the Wares Dam fund. Continue to have the annual contribution towards the Wares Dam go into the Wares Dam fund.
Can I just make a suggestion on that motion, Joe, if you don't mind? I would probably make a motion to place the restriction back onto the Wares Dam money and proceed with the budgeted contribution to the fund.
That was one of my intentions. Yes, thank you.
May I ask a question maybe of Attorney Zader or maybe Renee? I'm not sure which one of you know the answer. Obviously, this money's been moved in, moved out. Now we're moving it back in, which I do support. Is there another way that we can designate this money to be set aside for the dam without leaving it to be taken out?
As I've stated multiple times tonight, the money has not been moved in and out and in and out. The money for the Wares Dam resides in the Fiscal Stability Fund. That Fiscal Stability Fund, the money in May, the motion was made to unrestrict the money. As noted on the general fund budget, the money doesn't move in and out. There's a transfer into fiscal stability in accordance with the budget on an annual basis. So again, that motion would simply be to restrict the money for Wares Dam in the fiscal stability fund.
I guess my question is, can we create a separate fund for it to go into that would be protected, not part of the fiscal stability, but a place where it would be designated only for Wares Dam particularly by itself? Since we do have separate accounts for other things based on what I've heard at different meetings.
We typically do not, we just typically do not create bank accounts for all sorts of things, or we would have multiple accounts. Again, it's not a separate fund in the sense of the Wares Dam fund. It's a separate bank account.
So if I understand you correctly, Renee, what Commissioner Kelly is saying is that it's not necessary to open a separate account. Those funds are still going to be restricted to the Wares Dam. Am I understanding correctly?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I would second that
motion.
to restrict the funds.
We have a on the floor from Commissioner Seton and a second from Commissioner Kelly to restrict the funds, the $150,000 funds for the Wares Dam project.
And continue the contribution of $50,000 annually.
Correct. So can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk.
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio.
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Seton.
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye. Motion carries.
President Morgan, can I just real quick ask Joe Zader a question? Joe, for the COVID relief ordinance, assuming that it's prepared for review at the next board meeting, does it have to be advertised for 30 days before it could be acted on?
I believe for this type of ordinance, 7 days ahead of time for action would be sufficient.
Okay, so does that mean that at the next meeting, we would be able to approve or disapprove the wording and then at the second meeting in January vote on it? Or could we get a draft ordinance before the 7-day period before the next meeting and then be able to vote on the ordinance at the next meeting?
Ordinarily, what the board would do is direct advertising to occur once you've had an opportunity to look at the draft document. Since the document hasn't been drafted yet, you really can't authorize its advertising today, sight unseen. So once you have it in front of you to look at a board meeting, you would then give direction, if you like the ordinance, to have it advertised for possible adoption at the following meeting.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a question. So if timing is a question or an issue, do we have the opportunity? I know we always have a meeting, like a separate Wednesday meeting set aside if need be, or is from a timing standpoint, Commissioner Mobilio, is that not an issue?
No, well, that's what I'm asking. I'm trying to figure out what as Commissioner Seton said, it's a time sensitive issue. So I'm trying to figure out what the quickest way to take action on this is, but complying with all,
Right.
all the that comply with.
Under the Sunshine Act,
Obviously,
we have to
the
have a
better,
minimum of advertising. And from memory, I believe that's going to be 7 days for this type of ordinance. So if, for example, you were to have your regular meeting the first Wednesday in January, but have a potential workshop for the second meeting in January, or second Wednesday in January, that would not provide time for advertising because those two meetings are just 7 days apart, and the advertising wouldn't be authorized until the first Wednesday, which means it wouldn't be in the newspaper until several days later.
Can we make a motion to advertise it now?
No, because we don't have anything yet. There's
Can
no-
we?
It doesn't exist yet.
Can we hold a special meeting, public meeting for purposes of reviewing the ordinance before the end of the year?
With the board's pleasure, sure.
I will go along with anything that would expedite this.
From a scheduling standpoint, I mean, I have no problem, whatever we need to do, as far as getting the board to be able to take a look at it, the language of the ordinance, and keep, clear and moving, makes sense to me. I'm fine with that. Or, Diane and Mike, are you good with an additional meeting, before the end of the year if need be?
I will have to check my calendar with the holidays. It's a little bit here on my end. I don't know.
Okay, well, we could probably regroup with the group, and if we needed to have an additional meeting. Renee, do we already have one scheduled?
I only believe that we have Tracy, are you on the line? I think we have the second Wednesday always reserved for public advertising already. I do not believe we have the fourth. We would have to figure the date and advertise the meeting, by the end of this week. Because of the holiday. So I don't know if Tracy's still on.
Yeah. You know what, Renee? We might have to check. There might be a problem because with the holiday, their advertising schedule is a bit different. So I'll have to take a look at that tomorrow, just to be on the safe side. And we always do, for the workshops, we always do advertise for the second Wednesday of every month. So that's another possibility.
Okay, so we'll have to check. We will have to check with the newspaper tomorrow for advertising. So we will do that, and then we will send an email out.
And just for Commissioner Seton's edification, I think Jessica O'Donnell jumped off the line, but in my discussions with her, she told me that once, if this is approved, if ordinance is approved, they are like on top of it immediately. We've already got a template application. They'll be, I think she said they could start accepting applications within, I think, like a week or a few days. So I mean, as much as we think, you and I want to, and whoever else want to get moving quickly, once we do get final approval, if we get final approval, it'll be a pretty quick. Actually, it looks like Ashley Laura from the chamber is on, and she's willing to speak about mobilization. Can you do that, Ashley?
I'm here too as well, just so I'm still here, yes. So just so you're all aware, I just wanted to say, yes, we've worked very closely with Lehigh County, Northampton County on the CARES Act Small Business COVID grant. That was something that Ashley and I have been working on since July. Lower Macungie Township, we've been working with them for 2 weeks. It went in front of their commissioners on Thursday, the 2 weeks ago, and the next day we had the application approved and it was live on our website, which they advertised it that evening at their commissioners meeting. So we can go live. We have the access. We can build that website. We have somebody there, and we do have the outreach with small business community. I will tell you that Lehigh County, yes, did fund all 780 businesses. I don't have it in front of me, but there are still businesses that are reaching out to me that did not make it or apply within that window that they had it open. Businesses are very scared with the winter months coming up here. So as business owners, they are our lifeblood of our community. They are employing people that are putting food on the table at their homes. So, you know, any little bit helps. And we even saw that with our chamber COVID grant. Our first grant was $1,500, and then we did $1,000 and $500, and people were so grateful for any amount that would take some ease or put some ease as far as, you know, taking that burden off of them, because they don't know when that next sale is coming, and they don't know what the next mandates are. So I think that with this grant program, if it were to go through and a partnership, you would be helping our business community that we hear from every day, reaching out, asking us for more grant opportunities, or what do we know about.
Thanks, Jess. Excellent.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't want to put any, you know, between the budget and end of year, I don't want to put any undue stress on the staff to try to whip up a new meeting. I mean, Zader's office is going to need some time to do the work. So I'm okay with, you know, shooting for the first meeting in January to have a look at the ordinance, and assuming that it's acceptable, publishing it for potential approval at the January, whatever the next meeting in January is.
It would be up for final adoption on January 20th, Matt.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's
All right.
a long time. That's the only thing we can do then.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jess, and thank you, Ashley, for joining tonight and for your work out there with the businesses and keeping the good going. Much appreciated. All right. So next on the agenda for consideration, or not even for consideration, just for information, we have our correspondence and information items. So we'll start with the police department. Chief, what do you have for us today?
I will try to be brief. I will start with the reports for the month of November were 901, which is 47 less than what we handled last year at this time. Self-initiated were 10%. Most common type of report was EMS calls. Our uniform crime report for November, we had 66 reported crimes, which is down from last year's 84. Year-to-date stats, our reports are down 12.63%. Crime is down 29%, and arrests are down 29% as well. For the month of November, we had 21 arrests compared to 50 last year at this time. And our self-initiated arrests are 52.38%. And our arrest ratio is 31.82%. That is the stats for the month. But one thing I do want to emphasize today is just to discuss, last night we kind of had some of the culmination of our Heroes for the Holidays event that we typically do Heroes and Helpers every year, where we take some children from the Parkland School District Christmas shopping to help them out in times of need. And this year, due to the COVID pandemic, it was quite the challenge, but a lot of people really stepped up to that challenge. And I want to thank publicly the Parkland School District, the Parkland Education Foundation, the Kennedy family, Calvary Temple of Allentown, and Pastor Ray and all his folks, Citroni Ambulance Corps, Your Way, the Biopharma Services Company for donation, Parkland Cares Food Pantry, Upper Macungie Township Police Department, specifically Chief Satoski and Officer Bill Rohrbach, and obviously South Whitehall Township. A lot of folks here from the township helped out with that, and specifically Officer Grozier and Lieutenant Steve Brown were the folks who did all the hard work for us to make it happen. And when I say it's a challenge, it was definitely a challenge. We did not take kids shopping in person this year. The officers actually sat down and met with the kids on a one-on-one basis, and we ordered everything via Amazon. So about $8,000 worth of Amazon gifts, not just for the children themselves, but for their families, for a sense of giving. And they sat with them. They spent many, many hours doing that. We had everything delivered to Calvary Temple Church, and we went in, and many of people in this call actually were there to help wrap those presents, organize it. Last night we delivered to South Whitehall. We ourselves delivered to 13 families. Tomorrow night we're going to be delivering to the other, I think there's 10 or 12 that are left over in South Whitehall, and Upper Macungie delivered as well. So it was a great event. We met our objective. We wanted to give back to our community and help some kids in need, and those kids who just do special things every year. So I want to thank everybody involved in the board for allowing us to do that.
Great job. Thanks, Chief. All right, any questions or comments for Chief Dorney? Keep up the good work, Chief. Tell the entire team, great job.
Thank you very much. They are doing a great job with the snow out there.
They sure are. All right, Tony, what do you got for us from an engineering standpoint?
All right, thank you, Tori. Right now we have quite a busy meeting tomorrow night in the Planning Commission, so submissions are still coming in for different types of development. Obviously with the weather, construction should be slowing down. We worked really hard with Public Works to try and get all the public roadways winterized and freeze the paving on those public roadways. Hopefully it's just internal to the site, but that's really where we are.
Excellent. It looks like we do have a question, Tony, for you from Mr. Burke about tomorrow's Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Burke?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a question on the meeting, but I intended it to be after you made the public notice announcement. It really wasn't for Tony.
Oh, okay. Very good.
I just got myself in the queue here. Sorry.
But no problem. Thanks.
Tony got all excited.
I could try, Mr. Burke, but thank you. That's okay.
All right. I'm just trying to keep up on the chat when it comes through. All right. Thank you, Tony. Any questions or comments for Tony?
Thank you,
All right.
Commissioner.
You got it. Have a good night. Stay safe out there. All right. Next, we have our public notice of the Planning Commission meeting on Thursday, December 17th at 7:30 or so. Well, I guess it will happen because it's virtual. We can't say it could get canceled because of snow. That doesn't happen anymore. So, George, did you want to report out on this one or?
Sure, Commissioners. As Tony indicated, it's a pretty healthy agenda tomorrow night. It includes 4 plan reviews and 1 conditional use.
All right. So, Mr. Burke, is this where you wanted to ask your question?
Yes, thank you.
You got it.
Thank you. Yeah, my question is, or my comment is that, and I noticed Greg Adams is in the audience tonight. I looked at the updated detailed agenda tonight, and the Parkview Motel topic is scheduled for 9:40 to 11 p.m. and the whole meeting is scheduled to last until midnight. I guess my comment is I would ask that when we have a topic which has significant public interest like Parkview, that it be scheduled in the future at more reasonable time. I think Commissioner Mobilio can attest, because he was a member of the the zoning hearing board when this topic came up for 2 meetings and there were about 70 citizens in attendance. It would be helpful if, again, that topic were addressed earlier in the meeting. And in fact, and I know people are dedicated in the township, but that meetings don't scheduled to last until midnight. it really restricts attendance, I think, and people's interest. The other question, the question I have has to do with, is that development eligible for a postcard notice to people in the neighborhood? It is a big development, and I don't think any postcards or any notice was sent out by the township. Thank you.
Excuse me.
George, or did you want to, is this, do you want to answer that question on the postcards?
We don't typically, I think this will be the first time that they're coming. It's a conditional use request. Sign up as part of that process tomorrow, then I believe Greg then will create a mailing list, and then we'll send out postcards going forward. This will be a lengthy request. It's a lot like Ridge Farm in that they have to do the conditional use first. And then that would be followed by the land development plan, which is, probably a year down the road. So it'll be a long process.
Okay, thank you.
George, Greg Adams here.
Yeah, Greg.
Just so you're aware, Dave, every one of the land development and the conditional use were advertised by postcard per ordinance. So if you are a property owner within 300 feet of the boundary of the tract, you did get a postcard.
Okay, I probably live about 1,200 feet, so I probably didn't get one.
Yeah.
Right.
And to speak to your first question, the scheduling of the events, typically what Planning Commission does when they get a heavy agenda like that, rather than favor a what we feel to be lengthy project first, we prefer to get the smaller projects out of the way. That way, if we have to continue anything, we're continuing the lengthy project rather than 3 or 4 other projects. So that has been our tradition for at least 20 years, and that's why it's scheduled the way it's scheduled.
Okay, I think you can understand my point though too, in that, the topic beginning at 10 o'clock will probably limit the number of people that'll hang on or be interested.
Well, and I understand that, and just understand that those are estimates. We may have other projects pull off the agenda, so those estimates should not be taken with anything more than a grain of salt.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Sure thing.
Thank you all.
All right. You got it. You got it. All right. Next, we have our Green Advisory Council scheduled for Monday, December 21st at 6 p.m. Randy or Mike, did you want to comment on this one? It's our regular scheduled meeting.
Sure, I can comment on it. I know Mike's working on the agenda here, going to get that uploaded here shortly. But I believe on the agenda, we're going to discuss an informational flyer that the recycling subcommittee is hopeful to have sent out here in the new year. We're also working on some exciting GAC facts, believe it or not, which are some really cool statistics that the GAC is trying to work on for things to reduce waste and just some helpful recycling tips as well. They are some very informational meetings. We definitely welcome anybody to join who might be interested.
Excellent. Thanks, Randy. All right. And next we have the zoning hearing board meeting scheduled for Monday, December 21st at 7:30.
Yes, commissioners, again, another healthy agenda. There were originally 5 items advertised, but I think a number of those have actually, one has been withdrawn. I think 2 have been continued. So it's down to, I believe, 2 items. One is a special exception request, and the other is a holdover from the last zoning hearing board meeting.
Very good. Thanks, George.
Commissioner Morgan, while we're on just speaking about these different boards, and you may have already intended to do this, but just as an update about boards and committees, we're down to the only open position we have right now is a zoning hearing board alternate position.
And civil
service, I'm sorry, but Don Klein, who's chairman of the zoning board, has been having some trouble getting through, computer issues getting through to candidates, but he's working on whittling through his interview list. So just as an update, so everyone knows where we are.
Yeah, I was going to report out on that. I did talk to Don Klein earlier today. He's in the process of doing some interviews and getting those together. We do have the one alternate position on zoning, and then we do have 2 civil service alternate positions for consideration as well. Those are the current vacant positions open. And like we said, we are in the process of interviewing at this point. So just letting everybody know. That's what's open on our boards and commissions at this point. But thank you for that, Commissioner Mobilio.
Sorry,
All right.
Didn't mean to suggest you wouldn't get to it. I just wasn't sure if it was on your list of to-do items.
I'm glad you did. Excellent. Thank you. All right, we have old business. Renee, I'll hand this over to you. We've got Wares Dam, campus renovation, and credit cards.
Yes, thank you. Where's dam status? Again, we continue to wait on the DEP for any word on the potential permit. We are coming up on 12 months, and we were originally told it would be anywhere from 12 to 18 months. So again, we're just hitting 12 months now. Again, as soon as we hear, we will absolutely report back on the status of that. The campus renovation project, we did. Unfortunately, we had a few hiccups this week with COVID, and so the project was shut down for 2 days, and so restarted today after the building took measures to disinfect. We are continuing on budget. We have remaining $55,000 of our reserve money yet in total. And we are looking at delivery of the campus building in early January. So again, snow's not going to help us right now with our site work and paving, but again, I'm still anticipating an early January delivery date of the building. Credit cards, with the departure and change in some staff, we are continuing to work on that. And our anticipated date is the beginning of the January. And so again, we're working on some final pieces to that. We are also finalizing design of the current website. So our staff will be hard at work on some data transferring between the Christmas and New Year's holiday. Again, so we are anticipating that rollout in January as well. That is it on those projects. I did want to just say at this point also, we have declared the snow emergency, went into effect at 12 noon today and will continue until 11 p.m. tomorrow night. In the event that the storm has stopped and the roads have cleared up earlier than 11 p.m. tomorrow night, we will lift that snow emergency. But did want to let you know it's posted to our website that trash pickup was normal today. We did receive word from Advance that they will not be picking up tomorrow. So anybody who is due for a pickup tomorrow will be Friday, and Friday will be Saturday. So they'll go into their holiday schedule for the last 2 days of the week with a pickup on Saturday now for those who were supposed to have been picked up Friday. But that is posted to our website. And so again, you know, hoping that tomorrow is the day to get everything cleaned up so it will be back on track by, you know, Monday deliveries should be normal, or pickups. Also just wanted to say that tonight will be the last night that Mr. George Kinney is joining us here at South Whitehall. We are extremely upset that he is leaving us to pursue, to relocate and pursue another opportunity. Want to thank George for the professionalism and his dedication and commitment to the township over the last few years. He will be sorely missed by all of us here, but we wish him well going forward. Also would be remiss too, Steve Carr Director of Finance has moved on as well. And again, both gentlemen were the utmost professional individuals, committed to this township and extremely competent in their roles. So again, they will both be sorely missed by us here at the township.
Hey, Renee, this is Randy, and I would love to echo those same thoughts. George, we will miss you, buddy. You've been a great friend, a great colleague, and I know the staff thinks all the world of you. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck in your new endeavors, and stay in touch.
Woo!
George.
If you ever change your mind, George, just come over.
George, you were a true asset to this community. You made us better, and we thank you for that. You're an amazing person. You're an amazing professional. You will be a superstar wherever you are, especially there in sunny Florida. You will be beyond missed, and we look forward to keeping in touch and tapping into your immense knowledge. And we're very blessed that you have been an amazing mentor to Dave Manhart and the rest of staff, in community development. And we know that we won't skip a beat, and that's because of your great leadership. So, George, thank you. We wish you well, and I'll let the rest of the board speak, but I'm sure I speak on behalf of the board. We were blessed to have your service to this township, and thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.
Yeah. George, I couldn't equal what Commissioner Morgan said. I interfaced with you for 2 years as a citizen, and 1 year now as a commissioner, and you undoubtedly have always had the best interest of the township and the citizens in your heart and in your mind. Your dedication to the township is very, very noteworthy. And you brought everything necessary to your role, your knowledge, your experience. I agree with the comments about the personal mentorship that you've brought forward. So just want to wish you well, and whatever your next phase of life here is, you have my best wishes.
And I know Steve Carr is not on the call with us tonight, but just for the record, the same feelings go out to Steve Carr, thanking him for his service to South Whitehall. He was an amazing gentleman and an amazing professional. He brought great things to South Whitehall, and we wish him all the best. Certainly, I'm sure, Renee, you can pass along those sentiments to him as well. He'll be missed as well. So, all right.
I'd like to comment for George. Thank you. I certainly have learned a lot from you over the last 2.5 years that I've been on the Planning Commission. You've been very, very helpful and always professional, and always a great sense of humor. So I wish you the best. I'm envious that you're moving to a warm, sunny place called Florida. So wish you all the best because you deserve it. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you all.
George, the only thing I want to say is that, can you take me with you? We wish you the best of luck. You've been just echoing what everyone else said. It's been, I always know that when I call on you or ask for something, I know that you're going to have the answer. It's an incredible luxury to have someone of your caliber to lean on when you need help. So whatever you're doing in your next job, they are very lucky people to have you to work with.
For sure.
Nothing much that I can add, George, to what the other commissioners said. You are absolutely have contributed to the township a lot, and we will definitely miss you. Good luck in your future endeavors, and the door is open anytime.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you all. I'm a little choked up and definitely.
Don't.
I'm choked up. Appreciate the comments.
Well deserved, George. You deserve every bit of them and then some. So, hey, you're not gone yet. We're gonna stick with you until the last moment. So no worries. Don't worry. You're gonna hear more from us. All right, everybody. We have at this point in the meeting, we have courtesy of the floor. This is the opportunity for any comment from the public on a non-agenda item. I do believe we have a courtesy of the floor request first from Mr. Brian Height. Brian.
Good evening, commissioners. I know in the past I've had some negative statements to say, but this is not going to be a negative statement. Earlier this evening, there was a discussion about employees and them being good employees that can multitask within and across departments. I would offer that we have great employees here. I interact with 62 municipalities in Lehigh and Northampton counties, and I'm proud that our township is easily in the top 10 as far as an organization of employees. If it is not Randy Cope helping me get my trash collected when those Grinch contractors across the street decided to move them off the edge of the road before they were collected, or Herb Bender and Mike Elias helping me for months with all sorts of construction impacts, to the most recently helping me get my mail delivered after 4 days of blocked access due to the fact that the new alignment of Eck Road, which it's finally getting built, moved the road 12 feet away from my mailbox, out of the reach of the mail carrier. They got us back up and running like any other citizen that would expect, but often that goes unnoticed. Even Mike Cookitz of Park and Rec and the innovative Adopt a Tree program, which we adopted a tree as a family, and the drive-through tree lighting this weekend, hopefully, and the police. Every time I get property damage or have a Thanksgiving Day noise complaint, they're always professional and courteous and respond promptly. They get results and make South Whitehall the place we all call home and care about so much. And even George Kinney, who I have personally worked with in the past, best of luck to him in his future endeavors. He really helped me think things through as far as a planner and a planning commissioner in this township. So with that, I will wish you all a wonderful holiday season and best wishes to that 2021 is far better than 2020. Thank you.
Brian, thank you so much. That means a lot to make those wonderful comments about our staff and the community, and they're all so very true. Thank you for making them. Much appreciated. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you as well. Mr. Fritz, you're next.
Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. I have two comments. One, just to Chief Dorney and the police department, what a great job with the holiday program in this COVID era. And my hat's off to you and your staff and your team. Just great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting that effort in. That's just a great thing. I'm a big fan of any kind of youth program, and that's just great stuff, making it happen when it wasn't easy. My second comment is just maybe just a recommendation to think about a work process. Again, my life has been, or my career has all been in private industry, and I was frankly a bit surprised to hear the commentary around the delayed audit reports of several years. I would agree with Commissioners Wilk and Kelly that things like that delayed generally are just not good. I would suggest a best practice in industry that I've been living with my bankers and investors, and that is audits must be completed by the end of the first quarter when the year closes, and that it has, for me, that's worked very, very well. It kind of keeps you on task, but that's one of those things, if you really don't have full, clear understanding of the numbers in the past, it's very hard to go forward. And that's just the best practice in business. And you may want to consider something like that. I'm sure you have lots of business people that would tell you a similar story. And with that, I also appreciate you listening to my comments earlier. I do think the COVID year has been incredibly difficult on many, many people, and a lot of people need help. It's just, I think the help needs to come from a lot of the programs that are already in place. And with that, I'll say everyone have a safe and healthy holiday season, and best wishes in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fritz. Same to you. All right, next we have Mr. Salt, Lee Salt.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Quick question for Renee, actually, concerning when Commissioner Mobilio mentioned his the notice that has to go out. Does the website that will have allow push notifications? For example, if the residents wanted to get notifications on ordinance or something like that, that you could actually push them out to the residents that may not get newspapers, or do something. I know it's not a legal means of publication, but if it would help the residents understand and get more information from the township, would that be something that's possible with the new website?
Lee, in conjunction with the website, we've talked about the agenda management system that we are moving to. Part of their universal program is that you will have the ability to sign up for particular information that you may be interested in. Like if you want to get a planning commission, if you want to get every agenda that comes out, it has the ability for you to sign up that you would get a notice once those agendas are posted and that type of thing. I will say we have also, I don't know that this page will be included the day that the website is rolled out, but there is a page that's going on that talks about development throughout the township that will be on the website as well. So specifically on the postcard notifications, I can't answer that 100%, but it does have the ability for you to sign up for different push notices of agenda information and that type of thing. And it might be that as part of the agenda, that if they publish a postcard, that's part of the agenda and it could go out. So I'm sure there's ways for it to do it. But again, as residents, you would have to sign up for the particular thing that you're interested in.
Thank you. But I guess my question was that before, I think we ran into a time limitation with publications of things that are official for allowing a vote and for public notice for like an ordinance, like Commissioner Mobilio's ordinance for the fund. So the question is if it's tight, is that a way else to get information out to the residents that might have interest or that sign up for information? So if they don't get the publication, the Parkland Press, and was in the morning call, and they don't get the morning call, that they can get that ordinance information.
Well, it would be part of an agenda that's being advertised. So when the agenda would be posted up, it would be, you would get notice. I mean, you would have to read the agenda. The website is not going to take the official notification period. But again, if there's an ordinance on the agenda, once the agenda's pushed out and you've signed up for those particular agendas, you would get the copy of the ordinance that's on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. And just a quick comment to Mr. Burks concerning notifications. I know we've talked about this before. I know it's 300 feet from the property that's being developed, or the proposal. And Greg's done a great job with notifications, and the township's done a great job of getting people that signed up, getting that information out to us. Is that, to refresh my memory, is that 300 feet a state law or a township requirement?
It's a township requirement, Lee.
Okay. Is it possible for the township to look at expanding that to some extent to make it a little bit bigger of an area?
Lee, this was a topic that we had talked about, and I believe this was mentioned a few meetings ago, but there is going to be a workshop on that particular topic in January. I think I think the date's January 27th, which will talk about the notification process. It's a workshop meeting, which is the 27th of, I think, I'm pretty sure it was the 27th.
It's the 20th, Renee. The
It's-
20th, January
it's-
20th.
It's a regular board meeting. So I
Our
think
board-
the 27th is a workshop on that topically.
Okay. Okay. I will participate now. If I can.
January 27th.
Okay,
No,
thank you very much.
Yeah, I guess you're right. To be the 27th. You said the 27th, Renee? I was wrong. I had the 20th down.
I
Okay.
think it's the 27th because I think our meetings are the 6th and the 20th.
That's correct. Yep. Yep. All
Thank you.
right. You're very welcome, Lee. Have a wonderful holiday. I don't see any other questions or comments from the public. I'd just like to note also, again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, this is our first significant snowfall for the winter. Please stay safe and warm and healthy, and don't forget about the amazing people out there, Public Works, police, fire, emergency services out there, keeping our roads clear and safe. You know, they work very, very hard. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and be kind when you're out on the road. So great job to all of them. And I want to, on behalf of the board, wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and a fantastic 2021. I'm looking forward to great things. Want to remind everyone that this weekend on Friday and Saturday, Brandy, correct me, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll be having our drive-through lights display down at Covered Bridge Park. Really hoping everyone can join. It will be quite an event. A lot of hard work put in by the Public Works Department and the rest of staff to make that a wonderful community event and a COVID-friendly event as well. I don't know if COVID-friendly is the right term to use, a COVID-aware event as well for the community. So hope to see you all down there. Stay safe and well, and happy holidays to everyone.
Commissioner,
We need a payment of invoices motion.
Yep, I didn't get there yet. Yep. Commissioner Kelly, you had something?
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay. I didn't call the meeting yet. I'd like to note that our invoices and purchasing requisitions have been reviewed by the Township Manager and the Director of Finance. We do need a motion this evening to authorize that our checks be issued to pay our bills as tabulated. Do I hear said motion?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Kelly. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll make a second. Second from Commissioner Morgan. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Renee?
Commissioner Walk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mobilio,
Aye.
Commissioner Seton,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye, motion carries. We have no executive session this evening. Do I hear a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Kelly. Do I hear a second? Oh,
Happy
come on.
New
I'll
Year.
make a second. Second from Commissioner Morgan. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Stay
Merry
safe.
Christmas, happy holidays.